Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, thank you, Bill. All right, it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the Southern Pines Town Council business meeting to order. We are going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand with me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A few quick items I wanted to mention. First of all, thank you everyone for your patience as we've been doing some road resurfacing. I know that we've had a few roads closed over the last couple of weeks. And in addition to that, it's been quite the busy town. One movie being filmed over a couple of weeks and another one was filmed within a couple of days. So it's a busy town. Also, a really quick introduction to the Reverend Dr. Deborah Gray. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our town manager's comments. And Reagan, before you start, I had mentioned it to you before the meeting. I would like to move our budget hearing to just after the consent agenda, but we'll review that with agenda approval.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, general public. First, before jumping into the agenda, I am happy to report that the planning staff has now moved into the new town hall. So the first floor is nearly fully filled now. We still have some building and collection staff to move in, but with them moving in, the staff that are in the administration building will be transferring over mid to late of next week. And we're still targeting the first week in June to move the finance and the building operations over from the old library building. So that is all still moving along nicely. Construction continues in the ground floor so that ultimately we can move these meetings over to the new town hall. So far so good. Everything is working. All the hard work that the IT crew put in seems to be paying off so far. So all systems go. Moving into your consent agenda, we've got a budget amendment. We talked about this at the work session. It's moving $7,000 from the cemetery reserve for some fence work around Mount Hope Cemetery. Asking to approve a construction contract with Phoenix Fabricators and Erectors for $7.9 million for the new water tank in the north pressure zone. That is located up around the Fire Station 82 up on NC 22. There is a request for an acceptance of a non-warranty deed for Partner Circle. The easiest way to describe this is a section of road that has been on the town Powellville map for a couple of decades now. It was brought to our attention by one of the owners of property over there that the road itself had never been removed from the land for tax purposes. So what they're asking to do is simply dedicate the right-of-way for the road, which the town has been receiving Powellville funds for, over to the town by non-warranty deed. And this is an item that Attorney McCarley has been working with the representatives on. So this was the suggested methodology to clean up that situation. If you're not familiar with where Partner Circle is, it's over in the area of Zaxby's off of 15501. It's the little cul-de-sac that goes back to the hotel at the end of it. But that is a public street and has been for a couple of decades now. Item D is a request for a budget amendment. This is for the water sewer upgrade fund, and specifically, Engineer Mickle received a letter of intention to fund an additional phase of our sewer modernization in the amount of $5 million. It'll be a mixture of loan and grant ultimately, but what this request is simply to move $75,000 from the water sewer upgrade fund into a new sewer modernization fund so we can begin the engineering for that next phase. Placing all of this in the singular fund will allow for expenditures to be tracked far easier as we get into the grant and loan funds, and then ultimately are doing single audits on those potentially in any given year. So this is a request from the finance office. There is a request to reappoint Andrew Speck to the Planning Board. That'll be for a term through May of 2029. And I would also remind council that I had forwarded all of you some information on ETJ property owners, as we do have a seat that needs to be filled in the ETJ. If you did not receive that email, please let me know, and I'll get a repeat sent back out. Resolution 1071, there's a request to amend this. You may recall a year or two ago, you passed a series of rules designating areas within town facilities and buildings as either areas for public discourse or areas that are to remain private and cannot be entered without basically staff taking someone into an area. What this amendment does is it actually addresses the new town hall facility so that it will be taken care of once it opens up to the public. Again, that was a resolution amended by Attorney McCarley. And then finally, a set of meeting minutes from your 2 April meetings. Beyond that, you've got a series of action items and hearings this evening that we will discuss as we get to each of those items. And as the mayor had said, there is a request that the public hearing for the fiscal year 27 budget be moved to immediately following the consent agenda. So any motion to adopt the agenda should address that preferred amendment if it is council's desire to do so. With that, I'll certainly take any questions, or at least turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Council, do you have
Couple
questions?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, when the planning department moved, did they move with a new dress code? Because they all look really dapper tonight. They are looking really spiffy. Appreciate it. It's really coming together. Thanks, guys. I'm also wanted just an update maybe from planning director. On the Andrew Speck reappointment to the planning board, was that an unfinished term of someone else that he first took over? This would be his first full term, is that correct? That's correct. Okay. And has his attendance at meetings been appropriate and on the money? Okay, great, thank you. And then I also have, and this is just because I don't understand exactly what's happening here, a question probably for you, Mr. Parsons. And that is in regard to the bid on the,
Storage tank?
yeah, thank you. On page 7 of what I have where, I just have questions because I don't understand exactly what I'm looking at. So on addendum 1, 2, 3 on page 7, under 2.04, the receipts, tell me what's happening there. I'm not frustrated in anyone's purpose. I just are frustrated in my own purpose, I guess, but I just don't know what that is that you gave me.
I believe what you are looking at there, and I'll certainly defer to Engineer Mickle if I am incorrect in what I'm looking at, but I think what you are looking at there are, once the bid goes out
Right.
for review by various contractors, oftentimes there are addendums that the design engineers will send out.
Okay.
Sometimes those are a result of a question that may come in from a potential bidder, and they say, let's go ahead and make sure everybody is clear on what that is. It's basically a way to avoid change orders
Okay.
after contract. So I think those addendums are specifically an instance where the engineer has issued 3 additional sets of standard specs, rules
Okay.
during the open bid process. And then the bidders are asked to sign and acknowledge that they received each of those addendums so that we know
Okay.
when we're reviewing the bid that they are aware of what they are bidding on and they didn't miss something along the way.
So the addendums are instigated by us, not by the person who's bidding. Okay, got it. And my other question may be a better Mac question, just total curiosity in regard to page 9, Mac. I'm on the top of page 9, 3.13 and 3.14. Offer is not on the North Carolina State Treasurer's list of persons engaging in business activities in Iran, nor will the offer utilize da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can you tell, and then there's an additional one, 3.14, that they're not engaged in a boycott of Israel. I just am interested in what's happening there, if you know.
Those are in response to state statutes
Statutes.
passed at various times to make sure that North Carolina local governments weren't doing business with people that fall in those categories.
Okay, all right. Interesting, okay. I think that's it. I did want to say on the minutes that it says Brown Presbyterian Church and it's Brownson. If we can just edit the minutes to say Brownson, that would be great. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment that item 8B be moved after the consent agenda and before action items number 6.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to our public comments. Again, as always, I guess, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Just as a reminder, public comment is 1 comment per person. If you have something you would like to add after the meeting or after other public comments, please feel free to reach out to us by email or come to our next meeting. All right, is there anyone who would like to speak? And if it's about a public hearing, something that is on our agenda, which we have a lot of, those will wait until we get to that item. Would you like to speak? Yep. Just introduce yourself and give us your address. And make sure it's on, yeah.
Hi,
You can put it down too.
my name is Alicia Hockaday from 857 West Owl Avenue here in the big town of Southern Pines. My concern is the pool parking. I need to know what the hours are. I did Google it and found that the hours it says from dawn to dusk. But the problem that I see is we park on the outside of the fence, and it seems like it's a problem day and night with the police. I don't know why. I can understand their point sometimes, but why can't they park there on the outside of the fence when they say the park is closed? I understand at night, but daytime, if they can figure out a way to resolve that, put some signs up saying no parking or a gate up where you can't go inside the park after dusk. That's all I have right now. I just need to know what can be done.
Okay. We
And-
don't follow up with public comments at the meeting, but we can
Okay.
make sure that someone follows up with you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Day.
You're welcome.
My name is Linda White. I stay at 1160 West Illinois Avenue. I am a Southern Pine resident, and I do come to the Douglas Center. And on behalf of the Douglas Center, seniors, we appreciate what Bridget had came, what she had did, and everything else. She did a lot for this community for 8 years. And we appreciate her for all she did for us seniors. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms.
Ms.
White.
White, yeah.
Dorothy Brower, 102 Eastman Road, Southern Pines. And I just want to briefly echo what Linda has said about Bridget. We had no idea she was leaving, but our community really appreciated her. In looking at the item 5D, I know this is relative to Southern Pines, but we who live along the line from Midland Road to Knollwood, across my backyard, up to Michigan Avenue and part of Hardin, there's an embarrassing situation that takes place. Pungent sewage odor. And we've been told that it's coming from the county line that's going through our community. Please, that is not acceptable. It is really, it's unbearable. It is not all the time, but almost any time that you don't even have to step out of your house. But if you step out of your house, it's there. And I have asked town, but I would like for the town to be our advocate with the county to please fix that. Because, you just can't bear, visitors come and they think it's coming from your house or inside your house. And I think this is something that is years old. I don't know if it's coming from the plant that's at Midland Road and US 1, but it's very pungent. It's unacceptable for us as taxpayers and as residents. And folks have said to me, have repeated what I'm saying when I mention it to them. And I know there's one person who lives here, who lives on Michigan. So it goes up even that far. And I don't know if it goes to Pine Bluff, but it's just unbearable. So please be our advocates with the county. If they have to replace that sewage line, please do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brower.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Are there other questions for staff on the consent agenda? All right, is there a motion to approve it with the update of Brown to Brownson?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda with updates.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have moved our budget hearing up to this moment in time. We have a long evening tonight. I'm sure you guys noticed. We're going to try to get through it in a timely fashion, but we're going to start with the budget hearing, just in case anyone here at the meeting is here for that item. You don't have to stay through the entire night. Good evening, Mr. Parsons.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Mayor, members of council, public present, and those in the streaming world. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you the draft fiscal year 27 budget. Document that is a living document. We work on this kind of all year long, but we hit the ground running in January of each year at the staff level. And council's hopefully not going to hear anything new or unusual this evening because we've been talking about this for quite some time to get it up to this stage. So again, the 26-27 budget process starts back with staff. We go through some management review, both individual departments and also at a large meeting of all of directors where we take all of the wants, needs, and desires, the expected revenue, and we try to balance all of that out. We then bring that to council at a retreat, which we had back in early April, and then we turn around and make changes based upon the feedback at the retreat, which brings us up to this evening, May 12th, which is your first public hearing. We will be back here again on June the 9th, where we will have a second public hearing and a requested adoption. The fiscal year begins, as it does for all municipalities in North Carolina, on July the 1st. Current economic reality should come as no great surprise. The tax base in Southern Pines is doing very well. We've experienced some good growth over the past year. That does allow us to continue to maintain our tax rate. Our cost pressures do limit our flexibility. Our sales taxes, which have been going up pretty consistently since COVID, have begun to level off a little bit. We've seen actually occasional months where it comes in year over year down, which we had not seen for 3 or 4 years running. But overall, we're still seeing minimal growth in those sales taxes, which is exceptionally helpful in trying to meet our needs. And then our workforce stability is key. All employers have their challenges in trying to bring employees in and retain them these days. And many of the positions and work that needs to be accomplished here in town involve specific licenses or training. So we are doing everything we can to both attract and retain really quality workforce. Big picture in what this budget does, all existing services and staff are maintained. All of our debt service is funded. I'll address that here very shortly. We're advancing a number of capital projects still. Couple of new programs, not a lot this year. And then finally, a reserve of 25% for the fund balance. That is something the town has committed to for a number of decades now, and it is exceptionally helpful when we do go out and look for debt in the market. Debtors do like to see that we have some reserves. As far as that debt and what we are carrying these days, we have two relatively new items, one being the town hall payment, and I had mentioned that earlier in our transition to there. We also have the Carolina Green Parkway, which is a little bit of a specialty debt, and I'll address it later in the presentation. That is being funded entirely by the properties and businesses that are contained within the Morganton Park South development. And then, of course, we've got the Fire Station 82 out on NC 22, and then our community development building. And you see the various information on interest rates and payments there. You will notice as the debt gets older on that screen, the interest rates are far nicer. I'd like to find 1.91 money these days, but it's not out there anymore. Ongoing capital projects. The mayor had mentioned our current street resurfacing program, which is a little over $3 million because it's 2 years worth of monies. We are budgeting an additional $1.27 million in fiscal year '27, so there will be more street resurfacing to come. We've still got the $250,000 transfer to sidewalks, and in fact, based upon conversation at the retreat, the council retreat, we will be moving toward the building of sidewalks on West Michigan Avenue, which I believe has received some asphalt here in the last week or so. I'm told the project is going very well. The sidewalk project will follow that a little bit later. And then finally, we've got a couple of stormwater projects that are underway. We actually moved some money at our last meeting so we could address these sooner than later, but they really do impact fiscal year '27, and those are stormwater projects at both Country Club and at South Bennett Street. Number of capital items in this budget, most of which involve replacements of vehicles in both the streets and the police department, one replacement vehicle in the fire department. I will note here that the number isn't on the screen because we purchased it nearly 3 years ago, but we have gotten recent news of both our fire pumper and the ladder truck being on schedule and under construction, and we hope to see those later this fall. I'm going to say October, which might mean September, it might mean November, but somewhere in that before the end of the calendar year. So there'll be 2 trucks that show up that have been paid for previously, but don't appear on the list in front of you. Beyond vehicles, we've got some work to do on the Fire Station 81 bay floor. We've got a very old tree chipper and mulcher that is utilized by our Parks and Grounds crew that needs to be replaced. There is a fence at the soccer field scheduled for replacement. And then, of course, we've got the additional park lighting at J. Pleasant Hines that will be upgraded and replaced. Finally, for those who utilize our library regularly, we've got an air handler there that has met end of life, and that is not an inexpensive item, but it is very important for the comfort of our staff and patrons that utilize the library. Again, 25% of our expenditures will stay in a fund balance. It's kind of like a savings account or a rainy day fund. You'll often hear it. For this coming budget year, that equals just over $8.5 million. Sounds like a whole lot of money. It's not that it's not a lot of money, but also recognize it's 3 months of expenditures. So, you hear discussion or suggestions that you keep 6 months of money on hand for your household, et cetera. We operate with 3 months, which is actually pretty good and relatively consistent with local governments across the state that are in good financial shape. This is just your balance sheet showing the available fund balance anticipated coming in July 1, revenues coming through for the next fiscal year of a little over $29 million, planned expenditures of a little over $34 million in addition to that $250,000 transfer I talked about to the sidewalk fund, for an available ending fund balance of $8.8 million, 3 months of that being 8.5, and an available fund balance of, and by available fund balance, this is the money I described to council as, this is the money that's available for transfer to things as they come up throughout the year. You're all aware that we will eventually do an audit. We'll come back in, we'll adjust that number as things true up through June the 30th. But at least for the time being, if there are additional things you wish to fund or move around, 269 is what we're working with off of this balance sheet. General fund revenue, where does it come from? You will read and hear a lot these days about property taxes. I have stood at this podium far more than a dozen times and talked about property taxes being more than half of our revenue stream. It's actually 47% now. The biggest reason for that is I had mentioned the growth in sales taxes since COVID. The drop in property taxes as a percentage of our total revenue stream is essentially made up for with the increase in sales taxes. The two combined, as you can see, 70% of all the revenue that comes in. So, should the General Assembly do something to limit our ability in the future relative to property taxes? There aren't a lot of things to be done to replace them right now. We do not control the amount of sales tax that gets charged. You'd basically be looking at things like your permits and fees and your sales and services and having to raise other fees pretty considerably to make up for what might have been in any given year a property tax increase. Again, depending entirely upon what Raleigh decides our future looks like. But right now, property tax is king relative to running a local government in North Carolina. What can be expected? Again, property tax is going to remain the same. If you've not done an addition to your house or done anything that would have brought the county down to give you a new appraisal value, you're going to pay the town of Southern Pines exactly the same amount of property tax in fiscal year 27 as you did in fiscal year 26. And that's 29 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. The waste fee is scheduled for an increase by $1.25 to $26.50 per month. And if you opt in for recycling, that subscription will increase 50 cents a month to $10.50. The water and sewer rates are scheduled for 2% increases on both consumption and capacity. That comes to $3.02 per month for an average customer of 5,000 gallons a month. That's again, water and sewer. Again, it's 2% across the board. We've most all of us heard of the Duke Energies being in front of the state right now looking for 18% increases in the coming year. So glad we can stick to 2%. Property tax bill, this slide is exactly as it was last year in that if you have a $150,000 home, you'll pay $435 to the town of Southern Pines. The only thing that has changed on this slide is that bottom band. You may recall, or if you review last year's slides, that assessed value was a little bit less than the $497,767. I also want to mention that is an average value and is the average that has increased. The median value is quite a bit less than that, and I didn't come to the podium with the figure, but it is in my budget message. If you utilize the median value, what it essentially means is that that half the homeowners in Southern Pines will pay less than the figure that would calculate out, and half would pay more. This slide actually uses the average, so if you're at the average, which is the $497,767, your payment to the town in fiscal year 27 will be $1,443.52. Sales taxes, I mentioned, 23% of revenues, almost 1/4. If those sales taxes were to go away, again, the best way we would have to actually replace them would be to increase property taxes. And if you were to do that in a way that it was across every residential unit in town, it would be $950 a home. We're not doing that, obviously, but it does give you an idea of the impact of those sales taxes. Where does each dollar go? We've talked a lot about revenues, looking at the expenditure side. 40 cents of every dollar is going to fire and police. 33 cents is going to waste services, and then the finance, HR, administration, IT, all of the things it takes to actually have fire and police. 12 cent to culture and recreation, which in Southern Pines definitional world is basically your library and your parks and recreation departments. 10 cents to transportation, which is going to be your streets, and then 5 cents to your economic and physical development, which is your planning and inspections division. On the water and sewer side, again, I mentioned the 2% across the board. That brings the base rate to $23.40, which is a 95-cent increase a month. And then a $1.61 increase for the average consumer on the base 5,000 gallons.
Reagan, can we back up one slide,
We can?
please?
Yes.
And why do we have green and of Caribbean blue there? And does this add up to, does the 42? The 10 cents, help me with my math, guys.
It adds up very close. There may be some rounding error, but 77, 89, 99.
I think it's just 5.
It's,
There's, no, you're seeing it correctly there. There's 6 colors, only 5 items that are listed.
and the reason for that is because the graphic didn't get changed.
Okay.
And we'll get that changed for next one.
Okay.
So there was an other category last
Right,
year
okay.
that did not play into expenses this year. And it
Caribbean
had to
blue is
do
no
with,
longer.
yeah, the Caribbean blue was the other, and it had to do with, if I recall, and Tess can correct me because she and I had a conversation about it because I was asking. We've got the internal service transfer that is done between. So water and sewer they do a transfer to the general fund for all of that general government, HR, finance, the stuff behind.
Right.
But then also the general fund pays we pay a water bill for all of our buildings just like a resident would. Last year, when this slide was put together, there was a significant enough number involved there that it took up a piece of the dollar, but that is not there this year. So you also notice that there is not a category directly across from public safety. That's where other came out. It just
Okay.
clearly did not
All right.
come off
I
as
just-
a color on the dollar bill.
I was just curious, right?
Dollar.
Right, okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Numbers changed.
Doing the
We
math,
dropped a
too.
category. We didn't drop a color on the dollar bill. So thank you
Okay.
for catching that. Again, just looking at this slide, I talked a little bit about the increases on the water and sewer side. We do have one, I talked about debt before on the general fund side. Water and sewer, the only debt we're carrying right now is an Asadra loan for the Warrior Woods project, and that payment for the coming year will be $237,000. I mentioned the MSD earlier, the Municipal Service District, Morgan Park South. The valuation on that has gone up pretty significantly in the past year. That is in large part due to two factors. Number one, that the BJ site and the things that are happening on that site were only under partial construction when it was valued last year. So you've got full value there now, including the fact that it has changed hands and sold for quite a bit of money. The other part of this, and it actually, if you all caught it in your email, the Overlook apartments that are going in next to Target have added a significant amount of value to the MSD over there. So all of that said, the tax rate up to this point, councils have set that tax rate at a level to be able to make the principal and interest payment on the Parkway, the Carolina Parkway loan. I had sent to all of you, and I've updated it since the new figure came in last week for the Overlook that I mentioned. I've sent to all of you just basically a calculation that would also allow you to essentially amortize or pre-fund the paving that will ultimately need to take place of the Parkway and the other roads that are being built within the MSD. Those all have kind of 15-year life cycles. The new tax rate that is being recommended to meet the P&I payment is 52 pennies. If you wish to add 3 pennies to that or less in order to future fund paving, just let me know between this evening and hopefully at the latest, the work session later this month, and we'll make that adjustment to what you adopt in June. But 52 pennies is the minimum to make the P&I payment. If you wish to add a couple of pennies and start to fund a future paving type of fund within that, again, you've got those numbers and you can take a look at them.
And what would you like that answer from us?
When? I mean, you can do it right up to the minute of adoption, but for Tessa's sake, I would ask if we make that decision at the work session, that's plenty of time just to adjust the rate and make sure the budget document is correct that you adopt on June the 9th.
I'm leaning towards yes, the 3 cents. And just for the benefit of the public, this is not a tax that goes to our general taxpayers, but specifically to the Target Shopping Center to maintain the roads that are in that
Well,
shopping
the
center.
Target Shopping Center, the BJ Shopping Center, all of the parcels that are within that development, some of which have not yet developed. I expect to be standing in front of you next year, and that 129.4, even if we don't get reappraised and they call a moratorium, I expect the 129.4 to be even greater as the Overlook completes construction, and then some of the parcels that are along Morganton Road, you've looked at a Tommy's Car Wash, you've looked at a Mavis Tire. As those get constructed, they'll simply add to that bottom line 129.4, which is going to drive that tax rate a little bit lower in order to generate the P&I.
So if we don't do an additional 3 cents,
Correct.
there's no fund there in 15 years when that road has to be resurfaced? Is that what you're, help me, talk to me like I'm a fifth grader.
What I have provided for you is a calculation, and again, it's based on assumptions. We've had to future cost the asphalt, so we take our current cost of all this construction we're doing, add 3% a year, cumulative out for 14 years, 13 years, whatever's left on the roadway, because it's been in use now. Divide that down by tax rate, and you've got a big spreadsheet that does all of this. If you choose to start funding it this year, you could start by 3 pennies this year. Next year, I'll come back, we'll update the figure, we'll reduce the number of years left before the scheduled repaving, we'll recalculate it all. The ultimate thing that happens is if at some point, no council decides to move forward with accumulating some funds toward that repaving, the year that the repaving comes due,
It's a wham. It's a whammy.
It's a whammy. How much of a whammy? Again, you will have gone through a number of revals by that time, setting aside for a moment what that may or may not mean in the future. You will have added value, though, regardless of whether you've gone through the revals. And the principal and interest will continue to come down each year. So I give you a number on that spreadsheet of how much it would take if you were funding it this year without anything in the
Right.
bank. But that number should come down each year, subject to what happens with the construction index and how much asphalt and paving continue to go up. So it's just a future council will have to make a decision that will be based upon there's either money on hand or there isn't. And honestly, a future council could decide, won't get a recommendation from me, but I probably won't be standing here when this all gets finalized. A future council could decide that, all right, the MSD paid off the parkway, we're just going to treat it like every other road in town and fund it through regular taxes and everybody can contribute. I mean, they have that option to do that, so.
Okay. So that was a kind of an oblique recommendation, but I hear you. Is there a reason that's a bad idea to increase by 3 cents? Can you give me the other side of the argument?
It's the pros and cons. You can hold it off and it gets paid for when the time comes and you
Right.
know all of those things. There's also something to be said for if you start having it paid for now, the people that are actually using up that pavement or
Right.
using up that road, the businesses that are using up that road are contributing toward its eventual replacement. Otherwise, the last business in, the person that rents a space, buys a space
Right.
in the year before the road gets repaved, ends up paying the full freight of
Right.
having to repave the road that has diminished over that 15 years.
So it would be a responsible act for a council that would exist in 15 years to go ahead and put some money aside.
For us to start that, yes.
Yes,
I mean, I
Yes,
think-
if I understood your question, I
I'm
think
on
yes.
board. Right, okay, sorry, that must not have been clear. I'm on board with it. I don't know whether does it make sense for us to talk about that right now for you and for Tess and not have that to deal with at 2 o'clock in the morning the night before you present again?
No, again, if you're all on board, we'll just go back and make the change, but it's not an overly difficult change to be made because
Right.
this is like its own little special budget. It's a special reserve fund. I would prefer to be making that and have the actual formal documentation in front of you on June 9th that has the right figures
That
in
makes
it.
sense to
I can
me,
do that off
right.
of a decision 2 weeks from now at the work session.
Tonight, or do you want to wait?
And
Reagan, you want the form, everything kind of laid out before we actually give you that dip. I think we're all in agreement to do the
so,
three, extra 3
but-
cents, so.
that's all we need to hear,
Okay.
and we'll make it happen.
Mr. Curtin, are you okay with it?
I'm obviously the shin kicker here. No.
No, go-
My
go
only
for it.
question was, yeah, I am for it, but before we say yay, what is the impact of that 3 cents? You know, I mean, obviously not to us, but to the businesses. Is it sort of like just, it's, you know, they assume this, it's really not a significant impact to, you know, daily operations or, you know, I mean,
So
for
the-
example, if we were to raise 3 cents on, you know, a different tax for the.
Yeah. The
for your
the
real estate.
impact of 3 cents is going to be that calculation at the bottom of the screen. Where it says 497, 760, 67, you would simply look up a parcel over there and look at what Moore County has valued it at. So if it's $30 million, you run it through that calculation, you divide 30 million by 100.
Yeah.
You multiply it by, instead of 0.29, you multiply it by 0.003.
Yeah. What I meant by the impact, not actually the,
03.
you know, not actually the math behind it, but the impact to businesses. It's not such an impact that we are not able to shape what that looks like based on those businesses we would like to have in Southern Pines.
And
It's in keeping with who we are, the Southern Pinesy way, so to speak.
And I'm going to go even a step further in that I think I understand your question, and I'm going to say it's a complicated answer because it might be different for every single parcel that is over there.
Gotcha.
Depending on whether the business owns its parcel,
Or-
leases it, what their lease looks like relative to items like property tax.
Yeah. Okay.
It could very well vary from one structure to the next.
I will offer, since the three of us were here when the MSD was originally created, the goal was that when this development went in, that our general taxpayers would not be funding a new road. And so we took the loan, this tax rate pays back the loan, and if it can eventually pay for the resurfacing, I think makes sense. Okay.
I'm all in. I was just curious.
No, that's a good question. All right, so it sounds like we're all leaning in yes.
Do you need a vote from council on that?
No,
Are you-
the vote will come at budget time. You're going to adopt a budget. You're going to verbally set a tax rate, and you will separately verbally set a tax rate for the MSD.
You will incorporate that change in.
You just need to incorporate it into the budget documents.
Is there anything, let me direct this question to Tess, is there anything we can do to make your life easier in regard to that, or did we just make it easier by making a decision tonight? You good? Okay, great, thanks.
What else do you have for us?
Okay, so, again, this slide looks an awful lot like past years because as much as everything changes, the challenges tend not to. We continue to age our facilities and infrastructure, although excitingly, we're moving into a town hall and we'll have decisions to make in the coming year about some of those aging facilities. There's always a desire for more services and more things to occur, but that takes more money. Labor market's not changing anytime soon based upon birth rates and the like. Yeah, and we'll just continue to try to balance things between rates and fees and taxes and services and look for direction from the elected council as to where to put more or less of those asks for revenues to support all of this stuff. And with that, I am going to remember very much to certainly thank the council, thank all of staff. Specifically, I'm going to thank Director Spies, clearly for all of the spreadsheets that go in behind what turns into this brief slideshow. But I also want to recognize both Assistant Manager Roth and our communication specialist, Courtney Heaton, for their work with all of the graphics and things, because if this were just me standing here, you'd be looking at a lot of spreadsheets. So thank you to them for making this at least digestible. With that, I'm happy to take any questions or sit down and allow the public hearing to proceed.
Council, do you have questions?
I have a quick question that has very little to do with that, although it has something to do with your last comment. So people who are streaming from home, again, cannot see that screen. And I want some just update from you in regard to whether or not we're going to have screens available once we move into our new home.
The IT department's been working with an audiovisual team, and that was a top priority for our streaming. So yes, it is every expectation that once we have a new home over there, there will be the ability to do that. And then, of course, we'll have a number of documents posted, as we've done with the budget for the last few years, but we'll also get this presentation posted online so it can be looked at.
Tempted to bring up something else, but I don't think you want me to right now, but that's okay. I'll talk to you on break. Yeah, thank you. All right, great.
To mention, if I could, you talked about the 2% water and sewer, but for those that are here and listening, we had a lot of analysis about that, and partly we sort of, a little bit parallel to what we were just talking about with the MSD and future paving. There's several big water and sewer projects that are going to come up in the 5, 10, 15 years. And so we set the 2% as an attempt to try to start preparing for that so that you wouldn't see water and sewer rates increase 15 or 20% 5, 10 years from now, because we are going to have these big expenses.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilman Pate. And honestly, we have a perfect example this evening. Just earlier this evening, you approved a contract for a new water tower of $7.9 million. We are not taking a loan to do that project because of the forward-thinking councils that have been not increasing rates by 10 or 15%, but 2% here, 2% there. It's allowed us to grow our retained earnings so that when it comes time to do those projects, we can move forward with doing them without having to suddenly come back and do a 25% increase on something.
Right, and I think, I love that Mr. McInerney is in the back of this room, and that I know that we should tip our hat to him and councils from previous years that have made our job a lot easier by having some forethought. I like thinking 20 years out. And I'm sorry, I can't help myself, I have to ask a question.
Okay.
So, and you guys can call me down if you need to, but in regard to, do we have county sewer lines? I'm back to Ms. Brower's issue she brought. Do we have county sewer lines running through Southern Pines? And what can we do? If so, how do we address the issue that's clearly an issue?
So
Those
yes,
are-
clearly there are county facilities in Southern Pines because the plant itself is a county plant. All of our sewer flows to Moore County. They are responsible for treating it down at Ador, which is down
Right,
near the water
right.
plant. So they've got lift stations throughout the community. Our collection system all flow to one of any number of Moore County lift stations, which then from there through, now I'm not going to stand here and tell you I know exactly the line that Ms. Brower is speaking of, and I want to have a follow-up conversation
I
with
was like,
her about that.
and you don't
but-
need to at this moment.
There-
We really need
but
to give you
yes, there are
a
clearly
budget.
county facilities throughout,
So it's possible that's a county line that's.
It's 100% a county line.
yeah. No,
The town doesn't have sewer lines.
Right, okay,
we have sewer lines.
right,
It's not
right.
that one.
Okay, there's county sewer.
It-
If it smells, it's county sewer, right?
No, we.
that's not our lines.
No, we have a collection system.
Okay,
We
all
have a
right.
collection system, but it all flows to.
The county.
County
Okay.
facilities. It then has to go from those county facilities all the way down to Ador, which
Right.
involves county lines.
To get treated, right, okay. Thank
Still like
you, that was haunting me, I appreciate it. And
I'm glad you asked the question.
And if it's something that we need to address in our budget, then I wanted to say I'm definitely interested in people not living in communities that smell like sewage.
Yes.
And if it's something that we need to advocate for some assistance, I'm willing to be on that team too. That's a pretty serious violation of just good life. So thank you.
Are there other questions on the budget? Okay, hearing none, why don't we have the public comments portion?
I'm going to take this just in case.
That's fine. All right. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the budget hearing? This is our first of two hearings, so there will be another moment for comment at the next month's meeting as well. Because we love the budget. All right, seeing none. Okay, as far as process, because there's two hearings, do I close this hearing and then we open a second hearing? Yes. Okay. All right, unless the council has other questions, I will close the first hearing for the 2026-27 budget. All right, moving on to our action items. We're going to start with our architectural compliance permit for Lot 9 of Tyler's Ridge.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Town Council, citizens of Town Southern Pines, and everybody, and our guest here. Gene Ruiz with the Planning Department presenting the architectural compliance for Tyler's Ridge Retail Lot Number 9. As you might remember, this came in front of you last year as a special use permit 01-25. This is a change to a existing conditional development that was out there with Tyler's Ridge, and there was a reduction of a buffer in that area for this development. This is currently going through site plan, and this is the architectural compliance permits for this commercial site here. Real quickly, also wanted to mention that we've been working with Paul and with these folks at the V3 South, and they've been really helpful in working cooperatively to achieve what we see is the final piece of the old remnants of Tyler's Ridge, trying to put the best product forward to merge the old with the new developments there at ACE provision. Real quickly, I just wanted to show you a overhead shot here. We use Google Maps. Our maps have not updated real quickly, but I did want to walk you through this development because it shows some of the new development that I wanted to highlight. There in the red is the Pizza Slice, which is Tyler's Ridge Lot Number 9, as we call it in the department. Directly left of it, which is the west, is the Bullet parcel. If you can see that street right there makes a bullet. And then just directly north of that location, you'll see Ace Hardware Phase 2 of that development, which is the ABC store. And then directly on the far south of it, on the bottom of that screen, you'll see Provisions Ace Hardware. Right of the Pizza Slice there is the old Ace Hardware, which is now as a First Health and also a Dollar General. And also the new kids on the block there, we got McDonald's and Starbucks on that side there, on the right side, closer to Central Drive. And then just north, you'll see Roast and then a new restaurant there called Whiskey Taco Foxtrot. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those. All right, just going from north to south there, I put a blue line. It's kind of hard to see here, but it's just kind of splitting the old development of Tyler's Ridge, which is on the right-hand side, with the new development of Ace Hardware. And I really wanted to point that issue because architectural here is going to be reminiscent to the old development and to the new as how it transitions into the new side. This slide here just shows exactly what I was just talking about, the old and the new there in the Pizza Slice indication there. All right, this is a drone footage that we just flew from the south looking into the north west of it, just to show that beautiful buffer that we were able to save. I know it was really a sore spot there because they were fighting for as much as they can get out of that Pizza Slice so they can develop it, and we were trying to retain those tree buffer there. And as you can see, now that it's really spring, and see how it's worth saving there. And then directly north, going to be the ABC store and that other part of those trees that we saved, part of that development. So you can see where it actually acts like a transition from the old to the new and saving that Tyler's Ridge, which I just want to indicate there. That parking lot right there on the bottom is First Health. Just keep that in mind, just your directional orientation there, and then the old development there on the top right corner. All right, here's the site plan. This is what we have. We have a two-store commercial site there. It's going to be located right there, and just kind of orient yourselves with what I just spoke with, but just keep this site plan and we'll refer back and forth so we can, when we go through the elevations, you're able to tell which direction we're pointing at. So this is the north elevation from the front of the building that's facing Ace Hardware Store. So real quickly, it's right there on the left-hand side. And the park, you can see the parking lot right in front. Then we have the southeast elevation. This is the rear of the building that's kind of facing, in the general direction of that First Health and Dollar General. There's just another picture right there. And here are the east and west elevations. The east elevation there is facing the Tyler's Original Shopping Center and Capitol Drive there. And then the west elevation faces First Health. Just kind of wanted to show you those in reference to it. Okay, so as you are aware, this got approved last year, and they're requesting two deviations from 4.10.4. And the first one is alpha, which is the building orientation. And the second one that they're asking for is building material. And building material is only on the frontage that's facing Ace Hardware and the new development there.
And is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
right, I thought from my notes that the elevation that they're asking for the exception is the north elevation?
Yes, ma'am. It's just what it's titled north elevation on the plan itself, but this is what it's looked like right here, and it's actually facing more of a west side. It's just the way it was titled on the elevation.
Thank you. I was confused trying to figure out which direction it was.
Yes, ma'am. That's why I was trying to walk you guys on there because just the elevation, the way it was titled. But yes, this is that frontage right here, which does not meet the material.
The brick requirement.
Yes, ma'am. And the composition of the building material, there's 64% brick and 35% EIFS.
And in that picture, the awnings that are in the front view there are cloth, but the ones on the side are metal, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They could be a mixture of both, and this is kind of where it's transitioning, capturing both the old original development and the newer development.
You're comfortable that the product that would be built, the building that would be built would be consistent with these images, with the fabric awnings in what would become the front of the building, despite the orientation, and then the metal awnings being on the sides?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, as of right now, we don't have a restriction. It's got to be either or. They can select either fabric or they can select metal.
Okay, so that's another exception they're asking for.
They're just asking an exception for the brick building material, not the awning, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a time that we discuss awnings or not?
Well, there is a standard for awning, ma'am, but it's just, we don't dictate that they have to use both or either or. They can use what they like.
Okay.
Only in downtown, they have to use the canvas.
I know, yeah.
But we do not dictate.
Yeah, let's talk.
We did a text amendment. We did a text amendment a few years ago to allow for outside of the downtown area for canopies to be made of canvas or metal because there were a number of
Correct.
business owners that had canvas canopies and awnings that were weathering really, really
Right,
fast.
I
and they asked
understand.
to be
Now I
allowed.
remember that, right, and I'm with you. But my question is, are we going to go straight metal awnings with no notice to us when we are basically presenting photos or diagrams that seem to show fabric awnings?
From our point of view, their awnings are compliant because these images right here, you can see that for example, this image, the one on the right is clearly metal because it's flat, and the one on the left. And whether they make them out of canvas or metal, that's not part of what comes before town council. It's only the deviations that need to come before town council.
Right.
So,
And you know how I feel about diagrams that mislead. So I'm just interested in where I was going. But it's okay. I can drop that. That's,
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
I'm just checking, Mayor. So on deviation two, could you walk me through the thought process behind dropping the 80% brick requirement two down to 64? Are we, I mean, it's pretty significant. Are we, what is the rationale? What is the thought process behind it? Obviously, you guys are, the staff's in support of it, right? So they're putting in windows, they're putting in, why are we down there? Here's my question, here's my frustration, and I'm not making this a sticking point, but we have a set of conditions, we have rules and regulations that we've laid out. That is our game plan. We lay them out pretty succinctly and pretty clearly, and we ask people to come in and abide by the rules and regulations. Now, we also have the caveat that if there's something significantly driving you to the point where you can't meet those requirements, I just want to know what it is that has driven them, or has driven us to the point where we can't meet those requirements, and it's before us.
Yes, sir. I'm prepared to talk about that. If there are any questions on this,
Okay,
this
thanks.
particular deviation on the orientation of the building, and the reason, and I'm not trying to suggest, I'm just trying to cover this deviation as the first one. So originally, the front should face Capitol, but just based on that pizza slice, it's very tight and that constraint, and the way it was also seen and shown on the special use permit that was approved last month, it was just difficult to do it. But it is consistent with the other developments that is directly on the bullet, that they have a facade there on the other side that's kind of look like glass, and I can show you on this.
The only question I had, could you go to the elevation that shows the back, what's now going to be the back of the building?
Yes, sir.
Because the only thing I see is by turning it, usually the backs of buildings, they're not always out of sight, but they're usually more hidden or not accessible. Now it's going to be right on top of that parking lot, so people are going to be parking right in front of it, looking at it. I just want to make sure, one, what it looks like, and two, will there be additional vegetation behind there per our landscape ordinance to sort of buffer?
So there's, so on this right here, they're meeting the standard of brick. It's 80%.
Okay.
We did work with the applicant, and they were more than willing to work with us here because we had the same concerns as you. We don't want to see the backside or a workshop of a building. You know how people have, businesses have trash and they have all things kind of going back there. And we expressed to us that concern, and they're willing to comply with us and work with us. And so they do have some landscape that's going to be going back there, and it's pretty significant. There are some trees on that area already that were part of the parking lot requirement as a part of the perimeter. So there's already big trees already existing there. They've been there for a long time. So there's pretty good there, and they're putting building scape, which is going to be, so it's not seen. It's not as sore eyes driving up on Capitol Drive.
Okay, thank you.
I have no problem with the orientation. I think it's, well, I'll let you move on to the brick exception,
Okay.
unless there's other questions about orientation.
I don't have any problem with orientation. I don't know if anybody does. Does anybody have a problem? It makes sense to turn the building.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the law.
But it's just a deviation, and I'll go into the next part with the building material.
All right, thank you.
Perfect. If I could just orient you real quick on this site right here, on the site on the left-hand side, see that triangle that's up there that's really green? It's a green space that we negotiated with them when they went through the special use permit. And I will show you landscape that is going to be covered there. That speaks to deviation, part 2 of building orientation. I mean, not building orientation, building material, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So alternate building material is authorized if it's screened from the right-of-way. If you look at, what is it, paragraph 2 on 4.10.c.2, alternative material is authorized to use if it is screened. Now, this is not going to be completely 100% screened, but as you can see there is going to be a heavy vegetation area right there on the right-hand side. And where is it at? Here's what that landscape is going to look like as a blown up. So on the right-hand side, you'll see large trees. They're actually planting 9 large trees there. There's going to grow, it's not going to be obviously fully grown when we see it, but as it develops, there are going to be 9 large trees in that area. Also, there are going to be a total of 5 small trees in that area. And on the bottom right corner there, you'll see shrubs. So they're going to have a pretty, to me, a really nice area that you can see, and that's going to connect that old reminiscent buffer of Tyler's Ridge when they existed, and it's going to connect it all the way up to Main Airport Road. So, because right now there is a gap behind the bullet parcel, but this is going to, I think, going to connect it, obviously not on the street, but it'll connect all the way to the top to the ABC store and all the way up. But it's going to be a pretty dense vegetation again. This was not a requirement. This was something that we negotiated when we went through a special use permit, just because we just saw the opportunity to make this area pretty landscape.
Right, and I agree with you, and I appreciate you advocating for green space. What scares me is in the staff recommendation, it talks about a proposed green space. It doesn't talk about a collaboratively agreed-to green space. And I would really like to lock that down. I agree with you, and I think they're agreeing with you right now, but I don't know that there's anything written that has any teeth in it as far as following through on that. And I think that's real important. I think green space and trees are really important, and that area is getting built up out there. There's lots of parking lot, there's gonna be lots of concrete, lots of heat. So I'm all about moving the orientation of the building, but I'm also all about I don't want just a proposed plan, I want an agreed-to plan. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. And as I mentioned earlier, this is actually going through site plan right now. They're on their 5th submittal. This is on the plan and it hasn't changed. The only thing
Right.
that we added when we talked about architectural compliance, we're like, hey, listen, we don't want to see the backside of that building. Can you guys do something about that? And
Right.
like, sure, we'll. And they put street, this puts buildingscape on that side just to break that up a little bit. They've been pretty accommodating, trying to appease the town with the green, and they understand that, that's very important for us to keep that, because we actually fought for that buffer, and they saw how important the town council was. They doubled down on it by saying, you know what, we're going to make this, great landscape. And like I said,
That's great, and again, I just think we've gotten in trouble with slippery language in the past where people go, oh, we're going to keep the green space as convenient or as able, and then we lose all control. So I would like to see it in black and white. I would like to see it part of a final order. I have no problem with this building shifting orientation. That makes total sense. It's practical, it's great. I love what you've done on the backside. I love that you're looking at not only 80% brick, but also you're looking at greenery there, and it looks like you're also looking at some articulation of the building, so it's a lot more interesting than just a straight wall. Yeah, stop me, go ahead.
This green space
Yeah.
is an absolute locked-down requirement of the special use permit that was approved a year ago.
Right.
It's in there in black and white.
That's what I wanna know.
They can't not do it.
Yeah, your staff report scared me because it talked about the proposed green space, and I went,
So that
ah.
language, we maybe should have just used the required green space.
Yeah, that'd be better,
the-
thank you, thank you.
yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. Planner Rose, do you have other things that you want to include in your presentation?
Nothing that we haven't discussed of yet. The last couple of slides was just going to orient you through what the building is supposed to look like. So on this image here is the old remnants of the original Tyler's Ridge. And the architecture here is going to match some of the architecture on the frontage of the building. They have the yellows just to match what the old was. And I was just going to show you these pictures of what that site looks as developed. There's the McDonald's and the Starbucks as you're driving up on Capitol. See those trees there on the bottom of the pizza slice there. There's some trees that can be helping break that up, that whole brick facade there. Then I just wanted to capture those images based on the concerns that we shared looking at the backside of a building, because it can get pretty ugly on some of those businesses that you see just trash, or patrons, not patrons, but the people that work there. And that's not what we want to see as you're walking up or driving up on Capitol. So they understood that, and they addressed it real quick, and they had no issues or concerns with that. So, but we're just adding more vegetation to that area. Here's just another shot of the ABC store as you're looking down Capitol in the other direction of how it's all gonna tie in together. Right there, right now you see that building on the right-hand side. You're just gonna see that green space that was approved already in the special use permit.
Thank you. I appreciate the additional screening on the back side of it as well. All right, council, do you have other questions for our staff? Okay, seeing none, is there someone to present from the applicant?
Are we just not going to talk about deviation two? The difference in, is that not now or is that later?
He just talked about it, and then if you have questions on it.
So there is authorized to use alternative material that's not just brick if it's screened. With that green space there, if you're driving on Capitol, moving correct.
And that's
east.
clearly articulated in our UDOs.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So why is it, never mind. I'm just trying to figure, if it's already in our UDO and it's already a rule and a regulation, why are we seeing it now?
It's
Like,
'cause
it's already met all the standards that's been outlined by everyone. I'm just trying to learn for myself. I'm not at all trying to,
Yeah,
because you did a great job. I'm all for it. I'm in. I just want to know if I'm going to continue to vote to change our UDOs and our regulations for every project that comes before me, then I need to dig in a little deeper on what I'm getting.
Yes, sir. I could just say that a staff does not grant deviations, and that is, it's a building standard, is 80% brick. It could be presented as alternate material could be used, but since I can't grant the deviation, it has to go to town council because it's a deviation from the standard of 80%. But it could be approved if it's screened, and the town council is happy with that screening of the material.
If I may, and this is why it's here and staff is supporting it.
Right.
In other words, if it was not screened and it was not meeting our standards and they requested deviation, we would say staff can't support that. And they would go back to the drawing board and change it. But because of the screening that is required as a part of the special use permit, because of what was being, it was a give and take back then. The yellow that's on the left wing matches the yellow that's on the other Tyler's Ridge building right there across the street from it. That was part of the original, if you look, that was part of the original. So what we have is, there are multiple reasons why staff can support this deviation in this instance, in this unique circumstance, because the building is built in a manner that's consistent, as well as the fact that it is predominantly screened from visibility, but not entirely screened from visibility. So,
Right, but you understand what I'm getting at. I mean, we have a rule that says we need 80%.
yes.
And I can change that rule anytime I want, as long as I provide a screening. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, where do we draw the line?
I see this as like part of our negotiation, is that we're asking for screening, we're asking for additional plantings, and in response, we're willing to be flexible
Right.
as long as it fits in with what's around.
And by the way, we greatly appreciate the town council's support of the architectural standards across the board. It gives us tremendous ability to do our job and deliver to you the absolute best looking commercial structures we can that are the most consistent. But there are circumstances where we look at it, and because of the unique shape of the parcel, because of the unique circumstances with screening and buffering that was negotiated at special use permit, because of the unique circumstances with a building across the street that they would like to architecturally rhyme with the rest of the development, there's instances where we can look at it and say, actually, that yellow works here, and so we can support that. And our support is not inconsistent with the language in the UDO that says if it's screened, that the permit issuing authority can approve use of alternate
Yeah,
materials.
I'm tracking like a blue tick hound in the deep dark south.
So I'm agreeing with you because we greatly appreciate your support of these standards. It helps us do our job, absolutely.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Sorry if it felt like we breezed over that one. We're welcome to come back to it after we have comment too. Okay.
You answered the question. Perfectly,
Thank you very much, sir.
yeah.
Any other questions? The applicant will come up forward.
Okay.
Paul?
Thank you.
Hi, Town Council. Thank you, Gene. Paul Satoff with V3 Companies. Really just here to answer any questions you guys have. I think Gene did a pretty good job of presenting what we've proposed, the deviations we're asking for, Just here for any additional questions that you may have.
Okay. Council, do you have questions? I don't either. All right, thank you for being here.
Well,
If
thank
they
you.
come up, we'll have you stand back up.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and move on to the public comment portion of this public hearing. And then if other questions surface, we can revisit staff or the applicant.
Architectural compliance permits aren't public
Oh,
hearings. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have so
That's
many
okay.
public hearings that I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just going to include one. I apologize if you were hoping to speak. It is not a public hearing. All right. Council, are there other comments or discussion that you would like to include before we hear a motion?
Just say thanks to our staff. I think what we see here is evidence of why we're so particular when we set the standards and the rules for these type projects. So thanks for your guidance. It helps make this part a lot easier, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there a
and
motion?
I'll make a motion that we move to approve AR-04-26 as set forth in the building elevations that were dated April 17th, 2026, with the proposed deviations to the building materials as specifically described in the May 12th, 2026 staff report.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I will echo Councilman Pate's comments. I think we do have a strict code, and I think when there are exceptions, sometimes it's good to dig deep on why we're doing them, but I think the building looks nice and it's going to fit in. So you've done a good job. All right, now we're moving on to public hearings. Does anyone need a break?
I'd like a 5-minute break.
Okay, let's make it actually 5, well, let's make it,
Should we go by that clock?
let's go by that clock, that way we can all see it. It is, by that clock, 7:13. Let's be back, and meeting started at 7:20.
Good. I like
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, okay. I just was thinking, you know, I mean, I think Tess got to go home, which is great. She's been burning it at both ends.
All right, if we can have council back to their seats, we will get restarted. Okay, moving into our first public hearing. Just as a reminder, this hearing is quasi-judicial, evidentiary hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decision. Our discretion is limited, and decisions must be based on competent, relevant, and substantial evidence on the record. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited to those with standing, including the applicant, local government, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damages. These parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board, and testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. Anyone providing expert opinion on property values and traffic will need to have professional expertise in that field and provide evidence upon which their expert opinion is based and must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we will administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony for a special use permit for expansion of non-conforming building and site at The Barn. If you plan to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Just in case. Do you swear to tell the truth, the only truth, and only the truth in your testimony as well as your responses to questions? Okay, thank you. Would you like to qualify the council?
Yes, ma'am. Does any member of the council have a fixed opinion on this matter prior to the hearing that is not susceptible to change?
No.
Or had ex parte communications about this matter?
No.
Well, I did ask them if they were approved, were they going to serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner? So that was my,
An answer that's
That-
going to sway your decision.
I do not think that's going to sway my decision, but
Does any member have a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with an affected person?
no,
Does any member have a financial interest in the outcome of the matter?
no,
Does any party wish to challenge any member of the council based on bias?
No. Oh, sorry. I'm just answering. You all answer that one.
You're not challenging anyone?
I'm not going to challenge anyone. Thank you. That's what happens when I'm typing and listening at the same time. Okay. Are you our presenter this evening? Jean?
Ma'am, I will
thank you.
be holding the mic for the first 3 presentations, 1 down, 2 more to go.
Back to the mic.
All right, here we go again. Cafe Boku, special use permit 01-26. As you're familiar, the barn has been sitting there for over 10 years, and you've been seeing some developments, some utility equipment out there making some changes. But here we go. So real quickly, I wanted to show you a vicinity of the area from the southern facing north. Gives you a better shot of the barn there. As you face there is the parking lot. You see Luther Way there on the right-hand side, and then next to Highway 1. Shaw is located north of the barn, and then Rothney Avenue on the southern part there where you see all those trees. Here's an overhead shot of the facility. And here's just the surrounding zoning area, which is the highway corridor there, and then you have general business right off the highway corridor there. Okay, real quickly, I just want to bring you up to speed. Cafe Boku has gone through site plan review for its initial restaurant. This was reviewed last year, and since it was going to continue to service as a restaurant, we went ahead and continued. So a change of use was not required, but rehabilitation of this site had to be obviously partake on the applicant's behalf. They've also, and that site plan has been approved, and you see that site plan on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, as an accessory use, there's going to be an EV charging station, which is going to be sponsored or is with, in cooperation with Mercedes-Benz. This site plan has also been approved, and it's right there. If you look at the Cafe Boku site plan on the left-hand side, at the very bottom there, it's grayed out in that box. That's where that EV station that's located on the right-hand side is going to be. It's going to have 10 charging stations.
Can
for
I
that
ask you
site.
real quick, just one procedural thing, and I should know the answer. The reason all this stuff has happened and all these site plans have been approved, we've never seen this project at all before, is because it was just by right under GB, and they just went straight to you guys.
That is correct, sir. Yes. And that's kind of the reason why we're here. Cafe Boku, the barn is looking to expand outside of a restaurant, and this is why we're actually here. And that's a perfect transition to the next slide. All right, so since Cafe Boku started the renovation and their plans, it's kind of morphed into a destination that they would like to call. They would like to have a space that's going to be able to, have events like weddings and have venues because they have a space on the outside. That used to be all parking lot. What they've done is they reduced their parking there, and they've actually made a space where they can have an outside venue with tables and chairs outside. So there's really kind of taking them, it's just growing into that path. And now that they want to, go outside of being just a restaurant, they have to come, the only way to expand a non-conforming site is coming through a special use permit, and this is why you have them here. The 2040 comprehensive plan finds this area to be an employment center or areas to enhance. So it's, it's within our comprehensive plan, and also in the suburban settlement, which is like just a mixture of some, general business with some communities there to offer employment center kind of things like that. So this is just a real quick snapshot of the comprehensive plan analysis. So part of the special use permit analysis here, there's actually 3 criteria that they have to meet. This is the first criteria of all of them. And I really wanted to focus on the alpha criteria there, which was the proposed special use shall comply with all regulations and applications in zoning district and any applicable supplemental use regulations. Well, as you guys can imagine, by the expansion of just being a restaurant to, a party event or when they do a fresh market, they want to do, there's just some ideas that we're tossing, or a wedding venue. The parking is going to be limited to that area. So that was one of the major concerns, and actually was driving a lot of this forethought of securing more parking spaces. We don't want to see some of the issues that we've had in the past with some of these real popular sites that, that require a lot of parking. So we took that into note, and working with Reno and Lynn, the now owners of the barn, we really worked hard to get more parking. As of today, they've actually acquired another parking agreement with Grace Church of 140 more parking spaces in the event that they have a big venue. They're only required 30 more parking spaces for the venue that they were creating upstairs as the second floor and then the outside space. But they've actually secured 290 spaces of parking in the event that they have to exercise them based on whatever venue that they're showing. So I won't answer to all those, I'll let the applicant answer to them. But there's 40 spaces that are right around the corner in a Veterans Motorcycle Club that's directly behind them, and they have parking spaces for 40 vehicles, and they only needed 30, but they went above and beyond and secured more parking spaces because we really didn't want to have any issues with that. But that was the only criteria that I'd see that was really concerning, and also criteria D, which talks about parking as well. Any questions on this criteria? I'd just like to move on to the next one.
Can't tell from the map. I was thinking Grace was,
It is-
Pinehurst Avenue, would they just shuttle back and forth, or?
They have plans to, and they can speak to it. So the plan is Lutheran's Church, just before Grace Church. So they have a parking agreement with Lutheran's Church of 150 parking spaces. And then they have Veterans Motorcycle Club, which is directly adjacent to their property behind them. They have 40 spots. And then Grace Church was the last one, which with 150 parking spaces. And they said if they have to invoke these parking spaces, that they would shuttle their folks up there. And they also have a valet parking system that they're going to talk about and answer questions on that. I just didn't want to get into all the specifics on that.
Okay.
Some of those parking places, there would be restricted times when they could not use those.
Yes, ma'am, and they're part of the report, on the report. They have to,
Yeah.
like, obviously, comply with all the noise nuisance, you know, and all those things, because
Okay.
there is residential around there, and they're aware of it.
Thank-
Here's the additional criteria here on 7.1.8. Again, we've really got down to all the issues with the concerns of, you know, parking. There's actually parking on Shaw and also on Rothney. Thank you, Lynn. Rothney, that is not dedicated to them, but it is on-street parking. We just couldn't count those towards their count. But there is, you know, plenty of parking spaces on there, but we cannot dedicate them. So for, you know, if they bleed over a little bit, that's fine. But Penny, any questions on this criteria? I'd like to move on to the last criteria. So this is because back to the, you know, we've had this building that's been sitting there for a long time, and they just want to re-energize it. They want to bring more people to that area, and we just, our responsibility to the town, make sure that it's safe for patrons to visit, make sure there's plenty of parking, make sure that there's infrastructure to support all these things. And staff with you know, Public Works have all made the analysis that this area can handle this this volume of people there. They're actually the applicant is actually working with the Trophy Properties that's right across the way from them is going to be offices, and they're running new utilities and they want to plug into that just to better service their site. It's not mandatory, but they're actually going to work with that site to make their services better and just help out with that old facility that's there. So, and I'll let them talk to that piece, but it's remarkable how much they invested on this site. Just real quick recap of why we're here. This is an expansion of a non-conforming site. This is a non-conforming site because it predated the highway corridor. There is no setback. There was no front buffer. The building orientation is not where it's supposed to be at based on our standards nowadays. So that's why they're a non-conforming site. Also, the building material, I mean, there's a list of things that there's non-conformities on that site. So in order for them to be able to expand, they have to come in through a special use permit and address all those criteria, which I think they've done a phenomenal job addressing some of the concerns, major concerns, which was parking just on the limited site. There will also be put in a Connex. The Connex is like those shipping containers out there on their lot, because they're going to have outdoor tables and chairs that service outside, like the fire pits and all those things that they have out there. They have to put it away. They're going to put inside the Connex. The Connex will be heavily screened. It's already vegetation. They're not planting new vegetation. It's already existing there on site. It's fully grown, and you will not be able to see it from the right-of-ways, from anywhere. And they have a fence already existing, so you won't be able to see it at all. And that's one of those things that our UDO doesn't really say that you can't have a container on site. It only talks about it when it's going through construction of a site. They can have a container, but once construction is done, you got to get rid of it because they don't want to have that lingering there as a container. But it doesn't really talk about a Connex container being there, a permanent fixture. But also, we don't want to see it just sitting out there. So we wanted to be heavily screened there so it was not to be seen from any site. And the second floor, which they're going to be making into the venue, they're working with the fire department to ensure that everything is meeting with the code. But that's nothing that we do here in the zoning part of it, but we definitely, something that they're addressing and working through those requirements through the building permit side. Penny, any questions? That's all mine.
If council has questions, this is the time.
I had one quick question by the way, that is definitely not my vehicle out there. That alarm burned out.
No, somebody's signaling me to be quiet and hurry up. We got one more to go.
I just had a quick question, and Man, I love that, the whole concept, the idea, just a kind of quick question. With the special use permit and everything is obviously derived from the project growing and developing from what it once was just going to be a restaurant to now sort of an event center, which actually sounds pretty wicked. Has the number of occupants or patrons significantly increased from its original plan to now, and that's why we're now looking to sort of grow and develop? And if that's a question that you're going to answer anyway, ma'am, I can definitely wait. And that's what drives us to the parking lot issues. Is that a correct?
Oh, absolutely. I can answer that real
Yeah.
quick. So originally, let me go back to the site plan here, because it's going to give you a good picture. I'm going to walk up there.
So you're going to go old school with a laser on it.
So no, the lasers don't work, unfortunately, on these televisions. So if I can see on the left-hand side of the screen, this space that's right here, that used to be just parking lot. It used to be the same thing this was. So what happens is when we reduced their parking because they were only using the first floor of the restaurant, the existing restaurant, and just a little bit of outdoor space. We have a parking criteria that says for a restaurant, you gotta have this many seats for the square area that you're using. So that's how we came to what, to be able to reduce this large parking area. Because back when they used to just have parking lots, you can see Walmart, they just have parking lots for days, even though it's not ever used. So we thought that was a good compromise. Like, hey, let's use more greenery outside. Let's use outdoor space. And they were willing to they recommended they wanted to make this into a green space, make it into an outdoor space to make it real beautiful. So that the calculation to reduce from it was over 100 and something parking spaces to 74 parking spaces in this area was a good compromise from the town and the staff, and we can reduce it as a planning director. But that's why the parking requirement is going to increase now, since we're going to be adding more space. They're going to be adding more stuff outside, and they're going to include the second floor of the restaurant now as a venue for a wedding, which requires more parking spaces. And the only thing, it only went up 30 spaces, but like I said, they've secured 290 spaces with parking agreements with all the surrounding neighbors.
Cool. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. And thank you, Gene. If something comes up after a couple comments, we'll have you come back up. But thank you for your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. You know where I'm at.
All right, if the applicant would like to come speak. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, and town staff, our community. Thank you, Peter. I'm Reno Rollet. My wife, Lynn, is here with me. I just want to present quickly just a brief overview of who we are and our vision for this beautiful barn that really discovered us some time ago. This first slide, for those that aren't familiar, the barn was constructed in 1974, and for nearly 4 decades, the barn functioned as the largest by seating capacity dining facility in all of Moore County. Unfortunately, it closed down in 2012. It's a spectacular, beautiful building. I can't wait for everyone to come in and see. It really just blew me away when I first walked through the doors. The interior's made from old, locally milled lumber, dating back hundreds of years. There's even a rumor that one of the timbers, one of the big beams, is from Blackbeard ship. I can't substantiate that, but it's a cool story.
I'm sorry,
The old
this
brick is
hearing
from-
has to be facts only, so.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to have to strike that from the
I should
record.
preface, it's a complete rumor. But the brick is from local farms. It's just a beautiful, beautiful old building. And it's named originally for its 3 founders, J for Jack Morris. I just want to pay homage to these people. F for Fred Hall Jr. I've gotten to know some of his relatives, and R for Robert Garrison. And this is a quote I included, which just really touched me. It will not be closed a single day during the holidays, and parties are welcomed. Once again, we're sticking to the facts. I can't promise we won't close for a single holiday, but I just thought that was really interesting. So we, as a family, that's a shot of Lynn and I in front of the original sign, by the way. That sign was hidden on the side of the building by all this brush, and as we cleared the brush, we uncovered that, really interesting, and we still have that on site. So a little bit about Lynn and I. We've been together 40 years. 41. We're business people. We're blessed to have been twice nominated for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Lynn likes to say that the year we came closest, we were beaten out by Jessica Alba. But yeah, honored nonetheless. And we pioneered a concept, charge your car, charge your body. We did that in our restaurant out in California, and it was immensely successful. We partnered with both Tesla and Volkswagen. We'll get into a little bit more of that, but we're doing something very similar. We are deeply passionate about community, bringing community, gathering places to life, places where families, where kids can play and where they can be safe and enjoy, believe it or not, healthy, health-forming food, delicious food, but without all the toxins and the rest of it. We are very committed. We live here in Southern Pines. We've been here on and off for the past 5 years, but it's a sort of a return home for us. I started in business in 1986. I invented a patented beach blanket. My contract manufacturer was in Naples, North Carolina. So I spent a lot of time coming down here. Even before then, Lynn's grandfather, Lynn comes from generations of family farming, and Lynn's grandfather, Cartwright Bache, his favorite stop-off was Southern Pines when he would visit from eastern Pennsylvania. My father was an avid golfer. His favorite destination for golf was Pinehurst. So it's kind of been in our DNA for quite some time. This is a shot of our family, my son-in-law who served in the 82nd Airborne, our 3 beautiful grandchildren, our daughter. This is the day that the barn discovered us, I'll say, and this is kind of what it looked like on that day. And despite appearances, we just found it beautiful. This was the entrance to the barn back then. Boy, has it changed. This is a shot of the barn just almost completely engulfed, overgrown with trees and bushes, and it was really in bad shape. As Gene pointed out, it sat dormant, vacant, neglected for more than a decade. The roof, we started at the very top. We had to make major roof repairs. We had to repoint bricks in the beautiful chimneys. We have 2 gorgeous fireplaces. But more of the roof. And this is a shot of just some. This is one shot of the beautiful timber. It's just breathtaking. When you walk into the place, the smell smells like a giant cedar closet. It's absolutely beautiful. And here's a shot of kind of more of what it looks like now. You may have seen that beautiful red color. It actually took us 6 months to choose the color. That's what it used to look like, and there's the new red color going on the building. And every one of these brush strokes, every nail going in a board has just been so meaningful to us. It's just been such a great pleasure, so much fun. And this is a shot of sort of the future vision. We've been very fortunate to partner with Mercedes-Benz, and this is through a relationship that we forged over years. And I want to make the point that it is a Mercedes-branded facility going in our parking lot, but it will serve every car, every electric motorcycle, all of the electric vehicles on the road. So it's not exclusive to Mercedes-Benz at all, but it will be a beautiful canopied EV charging facility with 10 state-of-the-art level 3 chargers down on the south end of the parking lot. So we'll kind of revisit that charge your car, charge your body experience. And that the idea is rooted in the fact that when you're charging an electric vehicle, you're really held captive for 40 minutes is the average time from empty to full. And we always sort of envisioned giving people a reason to get out of their car, create an experience around that 40 minutes of captive time, let people enjoy health-forming food. We do superfood-infused smoothies. I'll get into a little bit more of that, but just a place where you can relax, a place where you can enjoy family. And again, we're all about, this is clean fuel for humans. Our business that we started back in 2005 is a superfood company. We sell to customers all over the world online, protein powders, greens, sprouts, mushroom blends, performance fuels, all of these beautiful, natural, organic, we call them superfoods. And Lynn's sort of secret power or superhuman power is she's always been able to sort of integrate or infuse these sometimes bitter tasting powders into normal everyday foods to make our children eat them. And she's been doing that since we discovered superfoods back in 1995. And her dream was always to share that beautiful skill of hers in the kitchen with people. And that's what we did out in California. That's what we envisioned doing here. In the barn, you're going to have a menu in the morning, our superfood cafe, which will be superfood infused smoothies, coffees, teas, and then breakfast pizzas. And I say pizza, but everything we do is a bit elevated in terms of the quality of our ingredients. No GMOs, no glyphosate, no bromate, no seed oils. We just, sometimes it's more about what's not in the food, but we have a way of making healthy food delicious. And that's really what the barn is going to be all about, without being in your face. So we're not going to be preaching. There'll be QR codes. You can understand. What is Yupon tea? Does anyone know what Yupon tea? It's Carolina tea. It's an ancient superfood, 8,000 years in the literature. And it grows, it's indigenous of North Carolina. It's the only caffeinated plant in North America. It's a derivative of yerba mate. And it grows right here in North Carolina, and it's delicious. And I could go through the stories of how it fueled the Revolutionary War soldiers, the Civil War soldiers, and it was vilified by Big Ag and destroyed. Well, we're going to bring it back, and that's just one example. Superfood sweeteners, just really beautiful natural ingredients that are frankly gifts from God and right under our nose, and we strategically infuse them in what we're offering at the barn. So this is the part that I'm excited about the most, and Jean pointed out the barnyard. That's the outdoor space that was a parking area, and we're turning it into a bit of an oasis, a place where families can come, relax, enjoy safely. The entire barnyard will be fenced. You won't even know it exists until you enter the barn. So you'll enter the barn, and there'll be a little beautiful little boutique, and then the big dining room and private dining areas, and then the bar area, which leads out to the barnyard. So there'll be a opening, a window leading out into the barnyard. And these are just conceptual renderings, but we are going to have two beautiful pole barns. So we'll have shelter from the sun, which is pretty intense back there. We'll have shelter from the rain with these beautiful pole barns that will match the aesthetic of the property. We'll have seating, we'll have fire pits. You can't really see a lot in here, but there's a children's play area back there. We're planning a putting green. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, very private, very safe, and we imagine people will really, really enjoy the space. You can see here's an example of some of the furnishings under the pole barn. We can decorate it. Everything we're doing is designed to be sort of modular so that we can set up and break down, and that's a big part of the reason that we need this. And more than a Connex container, obviously it's a Connex container, but for us it's a dynamic art installation. So we've talked to many local mural artists, and there's technology now that would enable us to feature an artwork on this container. Again, important to note, this is completely invisible from any of the right-of-ways, any of the public streets. You have to be in the barnyard to see it, but we're very excited about that as well because we need a place to store furniture, to store accessories, equipment, things of that nature while we're operating. And so this is just a quick breakdown of the property. It is an 11,500 square foot, two-story building, occupies about an acre and a half. It's in the general business zone. It's sat vacant, sadly, for about 15 years. It was a terrible eyesore, a blight, and sad, because it was an institution going all the way back to 1974. So we're really excited about bringing that back. In phase one, there will be two distinct phases. Phase one, we're going to complete the building renovation. We're going to open the restaurant and event center, Superfood Cafe, our pizza factory. We're calling it that because it's practically autonomous. We're using some really cool state-of-the-art equipment, a stone conveyor oven, pizza dough ball makers, dough stretchers, so that we can empower normal people to make incredible pizza because we're going to give them the best equipment, the best ingredients, and you don't have to be like a pizzola to make a great product. So yeah, the pole barns are part of phase one in the backyard and the barnyard area. Phase two, we hope to activate the second floor, as Jean had pointed out earlier, for events and to expand the dining capacity. As of today, I'm so grateful and honored to announce to council that we have secured in writing definitive agreements for 290 overflow parking spaces. And this really speaks to, number one, Jean's been such an incredible, a great steward, guiding us through this whole process. And he's emphasized we really want to make sure that we have adequate parking in place. But it also speaks to the incredible neighbors that we have and their reception of us and our vision. The two beautiful churches, we've attended services at both of them. the Veterans Motorcycle Club, everyone, even Peter is here just to show his support. He's from Our Savior's Church. Everyone has just been so incredibly welcoming and supportive of our vision and efforts to bring the barn back. So that's just a quick overview there. Key site elements, 74 on-site parking spaces. Now, again, we have 290 additional spaces. And to your point, your question earlier, Ann, there will be no conflicts because everything's going to be subject to coordinating schedules. We're not going to have an event on a Sunday when the churches are real busy and need their spaces. So we'll make sure that everything is carefully coordinated. We have a lot of experience in doing this. So the barnyard oasis, the fire pits, water features, the children's play area, stuff we've discussed, the Connex container, landscaped buffers and features. We are going to relocate the fire department connection facility there, which is currently on the edge of the north end of the building. We're going to put it outside the fence. It'll make it much easier for the fire department and free up some valuable space for us as well. As Jean mentioned earlier, John Panditch, from its Trophy Properties, super kind. They have to run a sewer line down, Luther Drive, and they're going to allow us to tie right into it, which are just really great neighbors. So we'll be tying in the sewer there, and we will be installing, or we hope to install, a staircase. This balcony here that you're seeing is on the south end of the building. On the north end, we currently have a door on the second floor that leads to about a 20-foot drop. So we're going to put a little deck and a staircase there for ingress and egress. And this is, once again, talking about our comprehensive parking strategy. We're very happy to have accomplished this, with the 40 spaces from the Veterans Motorcycle Club, a total of 250 from our beautiful church neighbors. We're not even counting the on-street parking. There's tons of on-street parking on Rothney and the streets in that other neighborhood. But I think we've addressed, thanks to the neighborly support, the parking issue sufficiently. And we've carefully considered the criteria, and we believe we strongly comply with all of it. We're just very excited about creating a destination, something that will bring value to the community, remove a 15-year blighted eyesore, create healthy dining options for our residents where they can come in and enjoy delicious food that's actually health-forming, and where we can host beautiful weddings, markets, festivals, private events. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, we're also planning a Sunday gospel brunch, which should be a lot of fun. The music will be a big part of the barn, so we're going to have music throughout the property. And we're welcoming back the shag dancers, yeah.
One of the reasons for the pole barn too, they're like, we have to dance. So.
Yeah, we've been around in the area, and we've met so many wonderful people in the community and heard so many ideas, heard stories, the history, people, prom nights and prom dinners and Christmas dinners and birthday parties, and everybody's got wonderful stories and memories of the barn, and we really want to pay homage and honor all those memories and hopefully create a bunch more, along with local good-paying jobs, obviously some tax revenue for the beautiful community, the town of Southern Pines. An adaptive reuse of a historic structure, and we think it fits perfectly with the comprehensive plan. So we hope that we meet with your approval.
Thank you. Council,
you.
do you have questions? All right.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I love what you've presented. I'm not a native Southern Pinion, but I've lived here long, and I've seen that barn, and you can't miss that big red color, so, the big thing sitting there. So I'm grateful that you and your wife have brought some new life to that barn. And the idea of jobs is always a plus. Has nothing to do with what you brought to us. So I'm just asking a question. So don't think, if I answer wrong, it's gonna, no, it doesn't make a difference. You're in a spot where I know there's a lot of people with economic issues going on, low economic issues. So any plans to maybe in your hiring, you looking for people from the West Southern Pines area? You're looking for people in that particular community? Because I did not even pass down any of those streets, but I happened to have to pick up a young lady who was going to my school, and she's staying with her grandmother. Her grandmother is in a wheelchair, and it's just poverty all over. So I'm just wondering, when you think about jobs, did you have any particular?
Before you answer.
Yes.
Mac, I'm afraid that his answer to that question is going to be disallowed in this conversation. And so
Sorry.
I'm thinking I would recommend Deborah to have this
Yeah.
conversation with him
I'll
after.
have it, yeah.
Is that okay?
No worries, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Sorry.
And I think I can address the income sort of disparity. The barn will be all-inclusive. The barn will welcome everyone, and we really want a compelling message of value. So we want to make really, really good food and drink affordable and enjoyable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Are there other questions for the applicant? I have two. You are okay with the 4 conditions that staff has outlined?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And with an additional 290 overflow parking spaces, just leads me to want to ask, what is the capacity of the event space, or just of the space in general?
I think upstairs, depending on the seating and configuration according to the current plan, once we activate upstairs, I believe there's seating for 200.
Okay.
And call it another 200 downstairs, probably. Is it 300 downstairs? So, 500 in that area, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's a big barn.
It's a big barn. So I have eaten dinner at that barn, obviously a long time ago. All right, unless there's other questions, do you have one?
Staff, but just in case, so I'm always careful, as long as we've been doing this, I'll still ask you from procedural. This isn't a rezone, it's not a conditional zoning. I just want to make sure, it's already GB, so your idea sounds great, that's all fantastic, and I like your vision, and I hope it goes extraordinarily well for you guys.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
I just want to make sure that in approving this special use permit, we're not opening the use for somebody 30 years from now who's not them to do something, like, that looks great, but I'm always careful to make sure we're not opening the door for something that we're not seeing or intend because of saying yes to this.
We greatly appreciate that thought process and that question. So yes, let me just address this. So the site has nonconformities to it based on the highway corridor overlay and other requirements. Because they want to expand the use further into the site that is nonconforming, they have to get a special use permit for expansion of a nonconformity. This special use permit for expansion of a nonconformity locks in that nature of the expanded site. So you would not be able to come in and do something else. Now, if they were to leave, the property is still zone general business. They have a special use permit for expansion of a nonconformity. They could run it in a manner consistent with the current permitted layout and site. In other words, they wouldn't have to tear out the pole barn, they would have that, but they couldn't operate it, say, as a car dealership with the same special use permit for expansion of a nonconformity.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Question. So our applicants have been very thoughtful in getting shared parking permits to make this possible. If someone else came in without shared parking options, do they need to go through some other process to have a 500-person capacity event space?
Well, the shared parking agreements would depend on the language of those agreements. So the language of the agreement, if it's between individuals and those were to go away, now you would not meet your parking requirements, so you would have a challenge, and the terms of the special use permit
So the town
would
has
be
some-
different, so
Okay.
it just wouldn't apply. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions, and we really appreciate the thought process and ask them. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Okay, so this one is a public hearing, so I will provide an opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to speak on this application to come forward at this time. All right, seeing none. Unless council has other thoughts or questions before we make a motion? None? Is there a motion? Oh, I'm closing the hearing. Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion that we first adopt attachment 1 of the staff report as drafted as findings of fact for this SU-01-26.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And therefore, I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit for SU-01-26 with the 4 conditions as laid out in the staff report and that petitioner has agreed to.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
what happens, what it turns out to look like. We can't wait to be there. Thanks. Okay, moving on to our second evidentiary hearing. As a reminder, this is quasi-judicial. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited to those with standing. Anyone providing expert opinion on property values and traffic, specifically those 2 items, will need to have professional expertise in that field and provide evidence upon which their expert opinion is based and must swear or affirm their testimony. If you plan to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and only the truth in your testimony, as well as the responses to questions? Do. Thank you. And now Attorney McCarley will qualify the counsel.
Does any member of council have a fixed opinion on this matter prior to the hearing that's not susceptible to change?
No.
Any member had ex parte communications about this matter?
No.
Member have a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with an affected person?
No.
Does any member have a financial interest in the outcome of the matter? Does the applicant, where's the applicant? Does the applicant wish to challenge any member of the council on the basis of bias? Record will reflect no. Mayor, it's yours.
Thank you. Making sure I didn't answer that question. All right, Jean, welcome back. Is this 3 of 3?
Of 3.
I'm glad it is.
Well, thank you for being here and thank you for your work tonight. Why don't you
Thank
get
you.
us started on the preliminary development plan for Mavis Tire?
Hello again. So here we go. Mavis Towers Preliminary Development Plan 07-25. This is a continuation from last month to present today. Real quickly, I'd like to orient you where we're at. This is a drone shot of the actual site that we're talking, where Mavis is going to be going at. As you can see, it's the new northern road past the traffic circle there that's going to be installed. And then the road will be connecting to the Lowe's drive back there. Here's an overhead shot just to give you a better sight of the neighbors there. Carolina Green Parkway, which we spoke about earlier today, and the Lowe's development there where you have the pet store and the Walgreens on the left-hand side there. This is all planned development there, and this is all the neighboring zoning parcels. This is the CDP land uses PD 0821. This is all that parcel there on the left-hand side. Part of that CDP, there was a requirement of a 20-foot buffer around all Morganton Park South, which you see there on the the western side there, what depicted on the 20-foot buffer. And then part of the major plat that was part of this was a 40-foot buffer to protect that buffer that neighbors Morganton Park South, Morganton Road there. And that's his lot 4 is dictated there. Just another shot here with the drone footage to depict the buffer there, the 20-foot buffer and the 40-foot buffer of the trees that we've been able to save there. And that buffer, on that 20-foot buffer on the left-hand side, it could be planted. So this is what they're going to be doing. Real quickly, what I wanted to capture on this slide is this was the proposed plan that went to planning board. Obviously, there's a significant amount of issues which the town staff would not be able to support on these deviations. And the number 1 right there was in red lettering is corresponds with the red circle around the picture there on the site plan. They wanted to reduce parking lot. The original parking requirement was 35. We were able to reduce by 20% with the planning director's administrative relief. We reduced it down to 28. They were proposing 26, and we just had a lot of concerns with that because there is a similar site, Black's Tire, over there on Pinehurst Avenue, which is about the same size of area there, and they have an overflow parking lot, which nobody really sees back there because it's hidden behind Arby's. And in this location, they would not have that issue. I mean, they would not have that afforded overflow parking, which they can hide vehicles, which planning really took to heart, and we're like, hey, listen, we cannot go further down. So we couldn't support that deviation request. Another deviation that we're requesting was the parking location. Part of the Morganton Park overlay, the parking is supposed to be on the side or on the rear of the building. As you can see here in the yellow font there and the yellow block corresponding to the parking, they just had parking in the front. It's like, hey, we cannot support this deviation because it's a bad design. That overlay is there because we want to shape that area to look in such a manner where it's walkable. You're not walking in front of a parking lot. You can just see a building there, just making it just easier to move as you transition from the Morganton Park South development into the Lowe's development down there. And then just building orientation, they had it facing west there, and that's also not going to work just because the building orientation based on the Morganton Park development requirement was to face the road. Since there's no access on Morganton, you had to face northern, so we weren't in support of that. So after the planning board, the applicant went back to talk to Mavis, and this is the revised site plan that you see in front of you here. Basically, they've fixed every issue that was highlighted and issues that we were not willing to budge off. So right now, their site plan is compliant with all zoning requirements. When I say that also, I also mean that the use is allowed in that area. Everything that is having to do with the comprehensive plan and analysis is already allowed in that area. So everything is good to go. This is going to be an authorized use in that area. Building has been moved closer to Northern Road right there with no parking in front of it. The blue font there and the blue square corresponds to where the front door is going to be at for the building. The parking count is what is required for that site. So we're really pleased that we're able to come back with Mavis and work with Mavis and the applicant and the design team to make them to adhere to our standards and not just to corporate level architecture or design that we want to keep Southern Pines. Southern Pines is yet mentioned earlier on.
So that parking still has the 20% administrative reduction, but you're okay with that?
Yes, sir, that is the minimum that we were willing to go down, which is a good use for that. Which is going any lower than that is what our concerns were about.
And just to help me understand the building orientation, normally it's the higher density road, but because it's in the Morganton complex, its requirement is to face the inner road?
No, it's just, since we're not accessing that site from
Morganton?
Morganton actual, it doesn't have to be on that side because it's being accessed on the backside of the Northern Road. All access is going to be, so now it's got to face that road.
Okay, thank you. All right. Are there other questions right now for staff? Do you have anything else for us at this moment?
That's all. Concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to provide additional information?
Good evening, Council. My name is Andy Mueller. I'm a project manager with BL Companies out of Charlotte. We are the engineer of record for this project. I don't have a lot else to add. I appreciate Gene and the rest of the staff. They've done a great job helping us work through the issues on this site and get us to a site plan that we feel that can be supported by staff and by the council. So I'm pretty much just here to answer any questions you may have, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you for being here. Council, do you have questions for the applicant?
No, but I would like to echo, thank you for being here. A lot of times we get stuff and you're not here, not you specifically, but folks in your stead. So it's really nice to put a face to a project name.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that.
We may have you come back up if we have questions later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Council, just as a reminder, which I have highlighted on page 11, part of this process is we are making sure that the application achieves the purpose of the PDP, is consistent with the CDP, it's consistent with our 2040 comprehensive plan, and adequately served by existing infrastructure. Outside of that, because it's a quasi judicial hearing, it's not what we like. I'm not saying we don't like it, just saying that this is not opinion-based application at all. Are there thoughts on information from the presentation or from your packet? Does council need a minute to review, or are you ready to make a motion?
Let's see, I can make one. Do you need a second, Deborah?
Page 10 has everything.
You want to do it?
I move then to adopt attachment 1 of the staff report as drafted as findings of fact for PD 07-25.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Also, I approve.
Before you go forward, I just want to make sure that Ann, I didn't provide an opportunity
It's
to
fine.
nay. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Thank you.
Then I move to approve the preliminary development plan for PD 07-25.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Since you are here and we're in a public forum and staff is here, I do want to make sure that I mention the trees that are on Morganton Road. I know that it's a requirement to keep them. Thank you for keeping them. It is part of what makes Morganton Road look wonderful as you drive by. Yes, and for any other applicants who are trying to be in that area, those trees are of utmost importance to us. Thank you.
I just had a question since you're here and we're done with the hearing. Is this the same ownership group that has the one? Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are moving on to our legislative public hearings. It is 8:12. We've only been in for about an hour. You guys okay if we keep going? Okay. We have 8A, the right-of-way abandonment request for the Gaddises.
Good evening, council. My name is Jeremy Sparrow from Longitude Planning Group. I'm actually here tonight representing the applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Gaddis. They were asking for a continuance on this hearing because they're unfortunately unable to make it this evening for personal circumstances. So I just wanted to ask that of you tonight.
Okay, thank you. If you guys are okay with a continuation?
Yes.
Do make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Open the public hearing and then continue it, so we don't have to advertise it again.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing and allow time for public comment in case any of you showed up to speak on this item.
I would wait for public comment till we have the
Okay, that's fine.
next time.
Okay. And do I need a motion to continue, or I just continue?
You can continue it.
Okay, and then I will continue the hearing until our next meeting, which will be in June 12th, I believe.
Would it be appropriate, if at all, to allow Mr. Sparrow to be aware of my concerns in regard to this right-of-way? Or do I need to wait till the hearing?
If your concerns require him to do something between now and then, now's the time to tell him.
Now's the time. Okay, so Mr. Sparrow, I think you're aware of the right-of-way that you may not have been aware of before, that it divides between the two abutting properties. And I don't think the original paperwork from the Gaddises offered that possibility. So we would adhere, obviously, if we did decide to relinquish a right-of-way, we would adhere to what the law would provide. So I think it's important that you know that. I also feel like there's not a lot of information in the paperwork that was turned in. It says it's going to deal with erosion and control, and I've seen plenty of situations where erosion impacts a neighbor, and it is very important to me that there be a pretty detailed plan in regard to that. particularly not just the Martins who live next door, but also the Holdens who live down the hill from there. So one man's solving erosion problem may create for another person an erosion problem. I'm going to be very interested in hearing a detailed plan and how that addresses the needs of the neighbors, because I have seen neighbors take a hit, and I'm not interested in having that happen. So, I would also want I would want either a very specific letter from the Martins, and I would also like to include the Holdens in that request. I know they're going through some tough personal times, but I would like to know that they are in the loop. And I think it's really important that we all keep in mind that this is a discretionary decision by the council. And I cannot tell you the pain and the expense and the problems that I have seen as a result of previously not well thought out potential erosion issues. And again, one person solving their problem may create a problem for two other households. So I would expect to see topo maps. I would expect to see a definite plan. I would expect to hear from neighbors. I would expect to hear support from neighbors. And I want to be straight with you about that right now, because I don't want to shock you in a month. And I look forward to hearing from you then. But just wanted to be clear with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually had it pulled up as well. I appreciate it.
Can I ask a quick question, sir? So originally it was for, the Gaddises wanted to take over the entire right-of-way. Now, we're looking to split the right-of-way between the two abutting properties. Is that correct?
It was never the intent for them to take over the whole right-of-way. I think by law, it's split in half. I think just our exhibit that we had presented didn't show the middle line, but it will go between the adjoining property owners, yes.
And so if I would just let you know what originally was my concern when I first saw this, and it was kind of worded that way. Right now, it's a right-of-way, so there's, nothing can be built there. But if you take that land and, now that there's a big sign out there and you can QR code it and everything, people have found their way to QR code and send it to me, which I appreciate, because it validates my phone bill. But the concern I had initially, and please just let me know that this is no longer a concern, if you looked at rezoning, that a typical minimum lot here is, RS1 is 20,000 square foot, which could have easily been put there. By splitting this now, by following the rules, we're no longer able to build a structure there. Is that sort of still the intent of the Gaddises, is just to fix and, because, and I'm going to be very frank, that the three people that engaged me was. Thank you. Yeah.
This needs to be in the hearing next month,
Okay.
because this will be a decision point for you, so.
Okay, so thank you. I'm sorry about that, Mayor.
I think, there was confusion, I think, because Anne's specifically requesting something to be prepared between now and then, or requesting, something to be prepared. And if you had something like that, rather than a question for him to answer.
No, but it just,
No,
you
absolutely.
inadvertently have a little bit of a head start.
We appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. Thanks
Thank you.
very much. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, Mac. All right, moving on to our second public hearing in the legislative hearings. The conditional zoning district for Sand Hills Presbyterian Church. Good evening, Mr. Maddox.
Good evening. Thank you for not calling me Gene Ruiz, since it's the Gene Show tonight.
It is the Gene Show.
All right, once again, Mason Maddox. I'm joined by Jeremy Sparrow as well for this one, Trey Kramer. Pastor Bill Bryans is here from Sand Hills Presbyterian Church, as is Elder Scott Bolton. And we also have Morgan, Cook from Kimley Horn representing this project here this evening. All right, the request is to rezone from single family 3, that's RS3, to general business conditional zoning district, so that the church can access some site development flexibility that comes through the conditional zoning process, and to prevent any future ambiguity as to what they are allowed to do or not to do. The school has been found to exist as an accessory use to the church at best, or at worst, there's been some ambiguity. So in rezoning, we are cleaning that up once and for all under a unified zoning for the site, which I can address a little bit more. Here's the subject property just west of PD Road and its intersection with NC 22. It's about 11 acres in total. Site, again, is currently RS3. Surrounding zoning includes rural estates. And the densest property, if you look to the north, that's the Santos Children's Center. Note that hashed area that goes through the site is the Urban Transition Highway Corridor overlay that has its own default zoning requirements, as council's aware. Watershed covers the entire site, limiting built-upon surface area to 24% by default, or up to 70% outside of that hashed area with council's approval. There is no way to administratively flex that, or even with conditional zoning. So you may be seeing them again. Just to get into the details a little bit more, the church has been in operation since about 2001 from what I saw, all right? And Covenant Preparatory School since I saw 2012, yep. They would not be allowed to exist in the current world if they wanted to build on virgin land, so to speak. However, churches were deemed conforming previous to the adoption of the ordinance. That's section 5 of our code, just against more of that ambiguity. So church is fine to expand. So then again, need for conditional zoning comes a little bit more from the school. Schools are only permitted under conditional zoning. Clean it up once and for all, have church and school together, no issues. Moving forward, they can expand. Thought this would be a nice way to clean up. And the applicants have consented to going through this process. All right. The school also does not have a previous zoning entitlement, which is, again, the crux of this. Let's look at some existing conditions. Oh, and thank you, BJ, for the drone footage to help orient you. You can see the church there in the green. Area a little bit to the west. I won't go up there and point, but you can see the empty areas cleared of trees. That's about where the new construction is proposed for the schools, as you'll see shortly. Just to help you get your orientation. This is a snippet of the conceptual master plan. It proposes no new access points, expands a little bit on the existing parking lot. There's a lot going on here, but the biggest things are the 2 red roofs you will see. That's the new proposed school building. It's going to happen in 2 phases, phase A and B. The first being the smaller building at just around 9,000 square feet. And then you'll see the larger red roof would be about 30,000 square feet coming later. Also part of this plan would be expanding the existing church also toward the west. So you can see that roof line where it ends right now relative to the existing church. Oh, and also on there is the modular building, just a little bit west of the church that houses the existing Covenant Preparatory School. And there's the plans that have been submitted with this application, showing buffering and other things. All right. Happy to discuss the conditions in detail, but for the sake of due process and keeping things timely, I was going to hit the green highlights, just what staff feels most strongly about. The first one, the biggest one, is yes, this would be general business, but it's also conditional zoning, so the applicants have proposed limiting the land uses to church and school and that associated with church and school, not the full list of uses allowed by general business. I think that takes care of a lot of concerns right there. Again, and then number 2, no new access points have been proposed. Everything accessed from PD Road right there. Another requirement that comes from the second condition, and I should have said, these aren't the exact conditions. They're listed verbatim in your packets. This is my vernacular paraphrasing to keep things quick. On-site stacking is a requirement. Those of you not familiar, stacking is queuing. So when school drop-off time is there, they have to be on-site, can't be spilling out onto PD Road, for example.
How do we determine the number of spaces and the stacking required?
Great question. There is a default in our ordinance as far as stacking spaces goes. For drive-through restaurants and other things, I'm not certain that we have one for schools.
We do not have one for schools.
Yeah.
So, and then if it backs up beyond the stacking on-site that's available, is there a backup plan? I mean, I think the last thing we want is cars stopped on the main road.
Right. If they are to start backing up, it would be if this is approved in violation of their zoning, in which case planning would go and investigate and help them to come into compliance.
So that's my question. I know sometimes with traffic, I got more questions later, but to that point, If they say from DOT and the traffic report, no updates, no changes are needed, if in fact that use would absolutely need like a turn lane on PD Road, you could go back if it's a nuisance and ask them to do it then.
But there's
It's-
no access on PD, I think.
Well, that's where it turns off. That's the only access is on PD.
Oh, okay.
Just the
So
one for PD.
you could then request it if the condition, if the situation got pretty, I mean, it was not conducive, even though the traffic report says you don't need a turn lane. If it became where one was needed, we could then ask them to do it and require them to do it.
Is PD Road a state road?
That's the point of no return if the traffic report says nothing.
What we could require is that nothing spill out onto the state road. And then it'd be up to them to fix it to cure the zoning violation.
Okay.
Now, what mechanism they use, such as additional queuing on site or some type of remedy in working with NCDOT to improve the road and create that would be up to them. But this is as much as we're comfortable with, because we get into some sensitive territory about improvements to the state roadway and paying for that because it's a school, and so it gets sensitive. So the zoning simply requires that they not stack off-site.
So what you just mentioned, is that already written in there that you could request, or would you need to add that? Or would we need?
One of the conditions that Mason was mentioning is that condition number 3 said,
Number
excuse me,
2,
condition
also-
number 2 is no new access and the stacking is all on site. And so that's now a condition, if, with approval of this and with these conditions, that would be their zoning, because this is conditional zoning. They're getting a rezoning with a condition that all the stacking be on site.
Okay.
And so you'd come to them, if it was, we had evidence that it's off site, you'd say, fix this or
Violation.
you're in violation of zoning.
Thank you.
And the repercussion of that would be?
The how would be up to them, but if they didn't fix it, then you would get into the enforcement mechanisms that are in the UDO, and there are a variety of options therein, such as permit revocation, such as civil penalties, et cetera.
And most of those take 30, 60, or 90 days, depending on the mandate that is passed down. Is that correct?
There is one in there called stop work order that takes place immediately if you pursue stop work order as an enforcement mechanism.
Right.
Yeah. If you had a serious safety violation due to a zoning, if you had a serious safety problem as a result of a zoning violation in progress, then you would choose stop work order from that list. It's one of the more impactful, financially. Therefore, you want to make sure that you just want to make sure
That's
that you
okay.
use it carefully. It's a powerful card to play.
It is a powerful card, indeed.
I think we ought to revisit this when we have the traffic expert speak. Yes, I'm glad you're here. Okay, you can go ahead.
Condition is very similar to that vein. Traffic shall meet NCDOT requirements. It's a curious condition. It comes actually after the planning board recommended that the applicants add it, which they immediately did. Again, I might allow Morgan to speak a little bit more on that since it is a state road and Kimley Horn prepared the TIA. But I'll keep going through everything else if we'll just pin those for a moment. Buffers, they wanted to meet the default of the UDO. Please excuse my drawing to try to illustrate this. It's very hard to freehand on a laptop in town hall these days. Buffers vary across the site. The biggest one is that green. That would be a 50-foot landscape buffer from PD Road. The red one is a 25-foot buffer. That's the base requirement when you're within the highway corridor overlay. That's why I have that image on the left to show where that is. So you can imagine it slicing through kind of awkwardly. And then off the blue would be 20-foot landscape buffers. That is the default minimum for religious institutions, and then their adjacent zonings, also paired with the highway corridor overlay.
Tell me what the red was again, I'm sorry.
A 25-foot buffer from the Sand Hills Children's Center to the north.
Okay.
So we go large, medium, and smaller.
Can we go back to your aerial, your drone view of the property?
Right here.
And can I have you at the board showing me where, show me, I think I get it, but show me where the property goes, or I want the
Absolutely.
drone. I want the drone back.
Just a little bit to the left of the existing building, so I've got it right there.
So, yeah.
All right. So we have 50 feet right here.
Right.
Everything else, 20 feet. And then up here, just north, would be a 25-foot buffer ending about right here, just because of the highway corridor overlay slicing through this area at about like this.
Okay.
And I'll show the public. We have 50 feet right here. Everything else 20 feet. And then the 25-foot one is right behind this existing building, and and that would stop right there, the buffer, of course, because the highway corridor overlay goes like this.
And currently, the classrooms for the school as it exists, and the school now is K-12, I think, right? Or is it just K?
K through K8.
K-8, okay. So we have the mobile, the giant mobile unit, right, that would be removed, correct?
Correct.
And also, I'm assuming there are classrooms inside the church? Yes. Right, okay, so the plan is to then build the new school building on the lower,
Would you like the aerial back?
What goes right here? That's just a rec area, recreation. I mean,
Yeah.
and would you, and so that's going to back up to Children's Center. Actually, I know you're going to go in a minute. I'll wait and ask my questions of you when you get there. That's good, thanks. Okay, I'm good.
All right, continuing through the conditions, I grade out the ones that staff found to be settled, if you will. School parking is at a rate of 1.75 per classroom, just meeting the base standard right there. The 13th condition, the applicants propose making a private connection to the White Hall.
And doesn't one already exist? Well, I'll ask them again when they get, okay.
18 and 19, I actually recommended that they add. This comes from planning staff, and they consented to it. The applicants did not originally ask for these, if you don't like them at all.
Talk to me about lighting concerns and why those are not highlighted in green.
Certainly. The condition reads that the applicants will default to the UDO for lighting standards, so they still have to comply. There's just no special deviation being requested at this phase or as part of conditional zoning.
So this point with the recreation area and the zoning, as we're looking at it, what would the UDO be, would they be able to have, and this may be a BJ question, I don't know, but it could very possibly be your question. What would be okay to have to comply with the UDO? And my specific concern is a field with athletic lights. That's tucked in a residential area there. So I'm interested in whether or not there's any intent or ability to put up athletic lights.
And Jean might actually be able to assist as well, because you know the lumens off the top of your head, but I believe, if I might turn to BJ to help assist with finding height, I believe there's special athletic.
Well, first, with conditional zoning, if they came in with the type of facility you're thinking,
Right.
Football field with big, it would not be allowed in this conditional zoning because the site plan just doesn't show anything like that. It shows recreational lights, but it doesn't show a stadium, it doesn't show athletic lighting. That's a use, and it would need to be shown on conditional zoning. So they would come in and have to do an amendment to the conditional zoning to
Right.
get that type of
And
facility.
so I guess my question is whether or not, when I hear from you all, whether or not you would be willing to have a condition that there would not be, in perpetuity, there would not be athletic lights there, because that's going to be an area that is the Whitehall Wilderness, that's going to be an area that's tucked in there with residential properties, that's going to be really impactful on neighbors. So, yes, tell me what I need to do right.
No such thing as a condition in perpetuity unless they put it in a deed.
Right. Is there a condition, there's no way, it doesn't have to be in perpetuity, but is there a way to do that as a condition?
There would be, but I don't think you need to. As long as it's not on this plan, they can't do it without
They
coming
can't do
back
that
to a
unless they come
council.
in with an amendment. So if I'm trying to think 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, there's no way to address that as wanting to make sure that amendment does not come before council.
No, they always have the option of coming back and asking for an amendment.
Right.
If again, we're relying on interpretation. It does say ball field. So
Right.
if the applicants are amenable to the condition for
what I
clarity's
thought.
sake, because that's not their intention to light it up like a big football stadium.
Correct.
You can put a condition in there, condition 21,
Right.
that just something to clarify that according to what's being approved here, it's not allowed. But like Max said, if for some reason in the future they wanted to come in and change any of these amendments, they can apply.
Right. And an application for an amendment is a $1,500 fee, and
Yes, same as this process here. Yep.
so that would be my request for a current condition, to add athletic field with no lights, with no athletic lights.
We can certainly draft something up while the applicant is making their presentation.
Well, and it'll depend on whether or not the applicant is amenable to that too, as a. Okay. Then I would love for you to draft something up, please.
I think before you agree to conditions, let's discuss if the rest of the council wants that as a condition. Because I think, there's concern that if you have a ball field, sure, if you want stadium lights, if there's something specific, but it came up with another school recently that if it's a safety issue and you have kids and it's on a field and the sun sets at 5 o'clock in the winter and you want to have any lights, you have bound yourself to these conditions until you come back and reapply with the council. So just let's make sure that we discuss it first. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good questions. I'll go through 18 and 19. Again, I proposed these and the applicants were amenable to them. 18 essentially says that when the church is expanded, as long as the expansion looks like the existing church, it would not have to go before council. Staff could approve it even if it deviates from the architectural code, because we're not sure if the existing church meets the architectural code or not. So as long as what is being built on the west looks like that and we have it worded in the condition, staff can approve it. Just to save them a bit of time, I offered that to them. And then the second part is that the new 30,000 square foot building could also be approved by staff if it is fully compliant with the UDO. So that's the big thing here. Anything not compliant has to go to council. But all that we've done, or all that I've proposed that they do and they've accepted, is remove size from the equation to save the church a little bit of time.
So that would be 80% brick if they're going to.
Correct.
Okay.
You have the option of requesting a deviation, again, through you all. So
With proper screening.
Yes. So if they request a deviation from us, does it come back through this full process, or is it just the
No,
architecture?
just the
Okay.
architecture.
All right, great.
Yep.
Okay.
Just an intention to save a little bit of time and process. That's all. All right. And then height, currently RS3 has a height limit, height ceiling of 35 feet. They would be allowed to build the new buildings up to 45 feet. That's what's the standard of general business, except for the areas in highway corridor overlay. Bear with me, that shaded line, so really the existing church, limited to 35 feet still. Where's that drone? Just a bit. I don't have the contours in front of me, but
So the church would be restricted to 35 feet still? The new school building would be 45? Tell me what could be 45 feet.
anything, the way it is drafted, outside of, if you look at the western part of the church, that green roof, right where it ends, it's hard to add a zoning layer to a physical map, but the highway corridor overlay is crucial to this.
Right.
That hatched line would remain 35 feet, everything in there. Everything outside of it, more toward the west, 45 feet.
Yeah, but it's dipped down. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Confirming that, yes. All right. The smallest correction that I requested from Jeremy, that we remove in elementary schools from condition 12. Just wanted to note that for transparency, that is different than what's in your packet. Just to clean up so that the parking count is applied uniformly to elementary and middle schools. I didn't think that was a big deal, just wanted to make you aware of it so that what you're approving isn't 3 words different than what's actually in your packet.
No, I appreciate that, but the bicycle parking, are we also requiring that?
They have volunteered that 3 spaces per classroom, and that would be a condition of approval.
Okay. I'm hard pressed to think of a child bicycling to that school.
Today,
I mean, through Whitehall, but even to get into Whitehall.
It's just, PD Road is just such a busy road, you know, it's tight. So, yeah.
Okay.
Get on our greenways, bike paths.
I like the bike paths. Okay. All right.
all right, then there's the list of actual rezoning criteria to consider, the technical list. I thought that the council would appreciate going through some of the highlights of the conditions a little bit more. Happy to go into this in more detail, but otherwise, staff find that the proposal is supported by the comprehensive plan, which supports continued use of an existing site and school in a rural living character district. We'd also be ensuring that the property is in full compliance, no questions. So staff find that the application meets criteria A through H. Therefore, staff recommend approval of the conditional zoning district as submitted by the applicant. Staff is very pleased to have worked with Longitude Planning Group and Sand Hills Presbyterian Church. They've been very cooperative in this process, very timely in responding to me and our requests and sorting out things and fine-tuning everything. Very pleased with how this has turned out. I will invite Mr. Sparrow to address the council now.
Thank you, Mason.
Again, my name is Jeremy Sparrow. I'm with Longitude Planning Group. We have a brief presentation, but it's very similar to what Mason did. But we can pull up the master plan. We can just talk about the different elements and then address any questions. And again, Morgan's here. I know traffic is one of your big concerns, so.
Can I,
As you're going through your application, if you feel like it's stuff we've already touched on, feel free to breeze over it. And if we need to go back with questions, make sure, I feel like rather than repeating yourself, questions are probably a
No,
priority.
absolutely. So,
And
I mean, I'll skip through the project location. Here's a little bit more detailed, and I can kind of point this out. This is the Phase 1 school expansion. You can see here, Phase 1, we're going to do the first school building, which will take out all the existing classrooms at the fellowship hall and the mobile classroom. And then just a small expansion of parking, as well as some minor improvements to the existing church.
Phase 1 is a two-story building with how many classrooms?
7 classrooms, but it's a walkout. Because of the topo there, it'll be a one-story at the existing parking area
Right.
and then a lower level on the backside.
Okay.
There's admin office in there as well.
Okay.
Yes.
And that takes all of your classrooms out of the church?
No, we can empty the modular building for sure. And then as we
Sorry.
Just make sure that people online can hear you.
My name's Scott Bolton. The new Phase A building will take the opportunity to get rid of the modular building
Right,
that's
okay.
falling down.
And that would be done upon the completion of Phase A? That's the
Yes,
condition?
yes.
Okay.
There are still classrooms that are used for both Sunday morning and the school
In a
as
church.
needed.
Yeah,
The
okay.
vast majority of the kids will come to the new building. There may be a classroom, Sunday school room that gets used Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the covenant prep.
real quick question, what's the expected population of kids that you're looking for?
This past current year, we had 190, and we're holding to that. 165.
Projected enrollment is under 200.
220 is what we.
Yeah, projected out would be K through 8th, 220.
And then eliminate the high school or still have a
No,
912?
At this point, we are not planning a high school. We're
Okay.
working in hand-in-glove relationship with Sand Hills Classical Christian School to take high school students and use both parents at home and the Sand Hills Classical Christian School campus.
Okay, thank you.
And just to note too, this is a hybrid kind of scenario. So they do go to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then they're remote Tuesday and Thursday at home.
But that,
When we start talking the expansion, because now we're going to change the zoning to general business, right? And that'll afford you to go to 45. Just swag. I mean, pretty much that campus is well hidden with all, the trees and everything. We're keeping all that stuff, obviously. I know how much you guys are really fond of nature and whatnot, but we're not really going to see. I mean, you still got to drive back in there to get to the school and the campus. Is that a correct assumption, sir?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
what we're doing here, how they operate the school is not part of it. I understand. I know y'all are a hybrid, and it works really well, and people I know that go to school there love it. But they could operate Monday through Friday if in the future that was decided. Is that correct?
Yeah. True, yes.
Why don't we have your traffic expert come to the stand? It sounds like we have maybe a couple questions we'd like to revisit on stacking or traffic.
Yes, I can answer both. My name is Morgan Cook with Kimley Horn and help prepare the traffic study, so I can answer any questions. I can quickly touch on the stacking to kind of answer that first. For school studies, we follow the MSTA group. They're the Municipal and School Transportation Assistance Group within NCDOT. They have their own school traffic calculator that helps us not only generate trips for any proposed schools, or in this case, a school expansion, but it also helps us see the high demand queue for the school. And so part of our study also included a traffic management plan to make sure that we can accommodate the stacking for the future expansion of the school.
Okay. And if for some reason that we're wrong.
Sure.
And the stacking ends up on a major road, are the facilities set up in a way that you think that they would be able to solve them either with?
Yes, so we actually, in our TIA, we had kind of a backup option already embedded in the full build. So our desired queue based on the student population that we analyzed, which was about a little over 200 students for the school, 220 to be exact. The desired queue is about 775 feet. We provided 900, and then we also provided additional stacking within the parking lot if they needed that extra stacking, which would be a total of a little over 1,200 feet. So should be well above what is required by DOT.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was curious about the flow of traffic.
Sure.
When students are being dropped off in the morning, afternoon, that kind of thing. How does that work since PD Road is such a tight, I keep thinking tight road, so how,
Sure.
I mean, did you do any study on that? Is there any conclusions on that?
So yeah, part of our analysis is just analyzing the intersections with all of the traffic added to it. So yeah, we analyzed that intersection as part of it. I can kind of toggle to that as well to give you some estimated. Yeah, all of our, with the future expansion traffic, we're, as far as delays go at the intersection, we're still seeing them be kind of shorter, what's typically shorter as part of our analysis. And we didn't anticipate any issues with the site driveway in particular, so.
Is a school day 9 to 3, or is it 7 to 2, or, because?
8 to 3.
8 to 3, okay, thank you.
And we typically will analyze, like for schools like this, we'll analyze 7 to 9. We'll gather those counts, and then we'll gather 2 to 4, and we'll find the peak hour between those hours, so.
Questions?
So would the queue, as you've designed it, be on the current concrete that already exists?
Partially the current, partially some of the expansion. If you want to go, yeah, thank you.
I remember seeing it.
You
Yeah,
see-
So you're going to expand down to where the new.
Expand down to B, And our loading zone is now,
Saw that,
it's kind of, it's kind of going on the line, and now our loading zone is going to be kind of south of that large building B there,
And
which
would,
provides that extra stacking, sorry.
would it be a rule coming out of the school that you could only turn right on PD?
That's not a part of our recommendations, but that's certainly, that could be something that the school looks at if there is, for some reason, some sort of issue with
Yeah,
parents exiting onto PD.
200 cars coming out simultaneously with, that's, or,
The average family is 3 to 4.
Yeah, come to the microphone.
So what he's trying to say that they have a lot of families that come to the school. And as part of our study, the calculator kind of takes that into consideration. And so as far as peak hour counts go, what we saw as part of the school calculator, it gives us a total of 94 vehicles exiting in the PM, and 64 entering in the PM, the school PM to be precise. And then the AM exiting, it's about 100. So give or take, about 100.
so you're looking at 100. I'm sorry, I'm wondering why the mornings are so low, 64?
That's entering in the school PM.
Okay.
And that takes into
got it.
consideration, like, the total traffic takes into consideration, staff traffic as well.
And you did not look at the possibility of taking only a ride on PD?
We saw as part of our school study, or our traffic study, that the intersection operated acceptably with acceptable delays and minimal increases as part of the expansion. So because of that, we did not recommend turning right only onto PD.
So, can you give me how many cars, do you do a study where it tells you how many cars per minute exit the parking lot at the end of school?
Not necessarily.
How do you-
Ours is over the peak hour, so
Right?
over the peak hour, we're seeing it's about 94. But they do a lot for school traffic in particular. A lot of parents will come at kind of like a peak 15-minute time. They'll kind of queue in the line, if you know, and then they'll kind of all go exit at once. But it's not, if you think about it like a school, right? You're going in to pick up or drop off your kid.
Right.
You have to stop your car. Your kid has to get out of the car.
Right.
To get into the school. Staff are walking around, making sure everyone's doing this safely. And then about 5 cars go at a time to exit the school.
Right.
So it's not all 94 cars entering at once, all 94 cars exiting at once.
Right.
It's kind of platooned in a way. And that's how NCDOT will typically have us maybe look at these schools to kind of model that platoon, if you will, of cars stopping, letting students out, and then they will recirculate the site to exit.
So if I'm the 5th car in the platoon, and I come up to, and assuming that there's not a platoon in front of our platoon, we arrive at PD Road. How long will it take me as a 5th car to get out of the parking lot?
Our analysis showed short delays, which was about less than 20 seconds of delay at that minor street exiting the site. But again, that's just our analysis analyzing that. If there is a significant issue, they see some backups, there is the option to turn and talk with their parents to turn right only onto PD.
Is your analysis based on feet on the ground making that analysis, or is your analysis based on a computer program that tells you what that would be?
So our analysis is based on partially, yes, a computer program telling us, but the calculator that generates not only the student population, but also the queues for the school. It's based on real existing counts on schools that are existing across the state of North Carolina. And as part of that, and I know working on other schools as well, we always try to have a buffer provided for the desired queue on campus, which is what we've provided here, about over 100 feet of, buffer for that queue. And for exiting the site as well, we make sure we're looking at those delays, those increases in delays from existing and our future conditions to those build conditions. We didn't see those issues as part of that. So there were no recommendations made as far as that right out, or restricting the turns out on PD Road from the driveway. But again, that's something that if the school sees that as an issue, that's an option that they can take if they see that.
So have you actually been boots on the ground at that site as school's letting out?
Make sure that we make time for other questions.
Right.
Okay.
I
And
really am
think-
interested in,
But I think you've asked the question, and I think she's answered it.
well,
And-
I don't think I've asked a particular question about whether or not she's actually been boots on the ground there.
Then help me understand how her feet on the ground
Who has been on the ground and watched that?
decision.
They're the I'm there every day. Principals, yes.
Okay. Okay. But you have not?
Me personally, no, but as far as this proposed expansion goes, that's taking a look at additional students to the campus, and this is looking at redoing their loading zone procedures compared to what they are currently doing today. So if me looking at the existing loading conditions and operations of the school, it is different than what our recommendations are for the proposed loading operations for the school, since it is changing and they are, not only increasing enrollment, but they are shifting their loading zone and changing the length of the queue.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? You're not off the hook. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure if it's for you, sir, or BJ, but in any event, down the road, if the school's just thriving and it's kicking butt and all 220 families or children are there, and we determine that, or we determine, someone determines that we need to make a change, then we always have that ability to do that down the road, right? So in other words, if we determine, I just saw it out on Highway 1, we determined that we needed a sheriff, we determined we don't need a sheriff. This is a living, breathing environment where we can make adjustments to safeguard our citizens as time goes on. Is that not a fair statement? Where it doesn't handcuff you as an institution and it doesn't handcuff us as a town?
What staff has said is if it's impeding traffic, then it would violate this condition. But if it's not, if it's an issue that's interior to their property, then that's not violating any of our conditions.
And if something in the future spills out, that we can come back and address that, and then they can make any adjustments that they need to. It sounds like you all are very amenable to, as you grow and develop, you'll change to make sure that everything's safe. I think that's what we're driving at.
My name is Bill Bivens, and I'm on the board and also pastor emeritus of the church. I know it's hard for you to visualize, but I'm there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, greeting and watching. It doesn't all come to, well, first of all, let me stop with the families, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. We don't come close and won't ever come close to having 100 cars, let alone 200 cars. It's way over. And second of all, people come at different times. I said 8 o'clock. Actually, the official time it starts is 8:30. A lot of the teachers come with their kids at 7:30. So there's like an hour of dropping off and coming. Some park and some of the parents park and stay, or they come to chapel or walk the kids. So it's not 100 cars. We don't have 100 cars, but if there were, we grew that much. It's not they all come, they'll go. It's over an hour period of time. It's not a flow, okay? So that's kind of the picture it is, and as we grow, we're not going to be any different than that. We'll still operate that same way.
And that's pretty much what I was getting at. Yeah.
Sir, does the afternoon traffic as well, is it staggered in that same kind of way?
It is as well, indeed, because actually the younger kids leave earlier. The older kids have after-school orchestra or other kinds of activities afterwards. So it's still about the same of maybe not quite an hour, but maybe an hour, I'd say about an hour stagnation of people leaving and going. So again, it's not 100 come, 100 go, 100 leaving. It's not even that many cars too. Okay.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, I had some questions. First, Morgan, it's good to have you with us. They always send Travis Fluitt, so nice to see somebody different from Kimberly
know,
Horn.
But it's nice to meet you.
Listen, it's my pleasure, really. Thank you.
I was contacted by a neighbor who couldn't be here, but is one of the more adjacent and concerned. So since it's legislative, I was like, absolutely, I can kind of relay some points. That intersection, just by its nature currently, even without this, is not the greatest. It's got some issues. When you do your study, it looked like y'all studied the PD entrance, but also the 22
Yes,
intersection,
correct.
which is the main one that has some issues. Safety is obviously the neighbor's biggest concerns. Safety is built into your analysis from when you make or don't make a recommendation,
Correct, yes.
as far as what you do. Here's the other thing that was relayed to me. I guess in the neighborhood's communication, because they're concerned about that area. They've been told by District 8 that they are looking, that's the DOT.
Yep.
That they are looking at it, whether it's going to be a light or a roundabout or something. They hope to at some point, you may know more because you're on that
I heard
committee.
roundabout.
They hope to do something there. And hopefully they do, because that area needs something. How does that sort of, and you may not be able to answer, but if a project like that happens there with this immediate use, do they sort of coordinate with the various, like they would see this driveway and say, okay, we're going to factor that in. Should we do a light roundabout or whatever it happens to be?
So what I would say is for projects like that DOT will pull together, they will take into consideration not just, this school driveway, but just really all the adjacent uses and residentials, businesses, whatever that may be in the area. They'll take that into consideration. How they do that is, through their existing traffic counts that they have and maybe some projected traffic counts in the future, because they not only want to make sure that whatever improvement they put in works today, but it works 20, 30 years down the road. So if it is a roundabout, if it is a signal, they will take this into consideration.
And I know it's in the report, but just since we're in the public hearing, you can absolutely state and confirm that the addition of this use in no way makes anything more unsafe given the conditions.
Correct. Our expansion of the school is expected to add, and we say it in the report, it's that our traffic is only going to account for about 2% of the build-out traffic, which isn't enough to necessarily push it over the edge for any signal. We did call out, because of safety concerns and conversations that we've had with the town, that monitoring for a signal should be done in this area. But yes, there's been other discussions going on with DOT.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Are there other questions? Okay, as a public hearing, this is now an opportunity for the public if there's anyone who'd like to speak. Okay, seeing none. Council, are there other questions for staff or the applicant or debate?
I was just wondering whether or not, I think this would be something, I guess, maybe for you, Ms. Cook. And I appreciated the pastor emeritus. I'm sorry, so I didn't remember your name. The pastor emeritus stuck with me.
The difference.
It was good to know that the traffic flow would be staggered time-wise based on people coming and going at different times. But I'm wondering whether or not there's been any study on the flow of natural traffic in that area at those particular times of, the beginning of the school day or the beginning of when people will be coming to the school and the end of the day.
So what our analysis will analyze the peak hour in the morning and a peak hour in the afternoon during school operations, but we do take into consideration, the through movements along that road. We take into consideration the addition of the school traffic at, the other intersections that we're analyzing. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, in a way, yes, yes.
Can I answer? Again, I'm there Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and most afternoons in an unofficial capacity. But I'm also there Wednesday nights for our Bible study, fellowship meal, prayer, and Sunday morning and Sunday night. And I got to tell you, traffic flow from the school doesn't compare with Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Nothing to do with the school at all. It's just, a busy highway, but the church people, and we have, 400 attendees on Sunday morning and a couple hundred Sunday night, and the school doesn't compare adding traffic to what our church does, and we're thankful for that, but we're concerned with safety of our people too. That'd be great if you put a light in or roundabout too.
We'll have to dismiss from church the same way you dismiss from school.
No.
A few at a time.
Well, actually, they do. They don't all leave at the same
They
time.
linger.
They stay around and talk in the parking lot. And
That's a good church. That's a good church. Amen.
So I'm interested in circling, I'm going to make you stand up again, I'm sorry. Back to you and Mr. Bolton. I want the team up here. I'm interested in my concerns regarding lights on the athletic field and whether or not you would be willing to have a condition that there would not be athletic lights installed.
For that, does the council feel strongly that no athletic lights, or are you all comfortable with lighting shall comply with the UDO?
I don't know that the council needs to all agree. I'm interested in what they say.
it's hard to visualize unless you're there. It's there's no big field there. They have basketball court, and they have it might be considered maybe a half the size of a football field, or less than that. It's not, they're not going to be doing their athletic events. We do have athletic events. They do it elsewhere. We'll never have that as a competitive athletic
Right,
field
right.
with lights and, yeah, it's never entered our minds.
So that would not be a problem to make that a condition?
No, we just don't have the
you-
room for athletic fields in that capacity. For, dismissal, for PE and that, it's okay, but it's not that big and never intended for that.
Right. What do you
The
think?
present parking lot has the Duke Power standard lighting.
Right.
And if we have some more walkways for kids to, in the wintertime, it may get a little dark.
Right.
Close to 4 o'clock. We may have some more pedestrian lightings or a parking lot light.
Right.
But, yeah, like Pastor Bivens says, we're not going to light it up like Pinecrest High School Stadium, so.
So my question again would be, are you willing to make that a condition? Okay.
I don't feel like that's necessary.
I understand your
That's-
concern. I
okay.
understand your concern. I think I have a way to address this. Okay. Right now, condition 14 says that lighting will follow the UDO. In the UDO, there is an exemption for ball fields, playing fields, and tennis courts, total exemption from the lighting code, right? And that can be problematic because it says they'll follow the code. Now, we talked about how the site plan doesn't show any stadium lighting, but to avoid any confusion. On the other hand, language that just says you may not have any lighting is really not appropriate because
I don't like that.
because you may need,
there's a safety.
right, you may need safety lighting. For example, lighting a pathway, as he just mentioned. If you want to make use of that at dusk, you may want some modest lights to
Right.
light that area. And remember, your average mature longleaf is going to be at about 100 feet. And so the standards, so we have a recommendation of a way to modify condition 14 that we think still leaves you plenty of flexibility to do lighting for that type of recreational field, protects the right to use that property in consistency with what I'm hearing from at least the mayor's concern, as well as protects your concern about making sure we're not doing 80-foot stadium lighting.
Right.
So what we would, and then the staff very wisely noted that if we just refer to the lighting code, like you won't be exempt, you have to follow the lighting code, this use, then later when we're administering it or reading it, we have to determine, is it residential, is it commercial, is it industrial? So they went ahead and preempted that by writing the following. The revised language to condition 14, thank you guys, would be, lighting shall comply with the UDO. Any lighting associated with the ball field depicted on the site plan shall be limited to only using total cutoff luminaires and their standards as shown in the residential district category of UDO Exhibit 4-11.
Thank you.
That would take care of it. It would automatically be baked in at either 16 feet or 25 feet, so they could still build it, but it would be so far below the tree line that it would be contained
great.
on site because of the buffers.
Thank you.
How does the applicant feel?
Is that good with you? Yeah.
All right, so rather than a additional condition, now we have updated language on condition 14.
Great.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, just curious, do any of the children play any sports out there currently? Outside?
Official sporting
Anything?
the kids get out there with a soccer ball or whatever, and they'll play amongst themselves.
Great.
Are there other questions? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. There's still the possibility of debate if we would like to discuss among ourselves, or I will hear a motion.
I don't see any discussion.
No, no discussion?
I think we discussed it.
Okay. Then, if there's a motion.
16? You got it? No, go ahead. I'm with you. I'm going to second it.
I move that after reviewing the proposed conditional zoning district, and after considering the criteria for approval with the modification to condition number 14.
That'd be in the second motion.
Oh,
This first
okay.
one is just the criteria.
One, Bill?
Yeah. You just read the first one. It's
No, you're doing the right thing, just don't mention 14.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was like, what did I miss? Okay.
You're good.
Then let me restate that from the beginning. I move that after reviewing the proposed conditional zoning district and after considering the criteria for approval of zoning map amendments found in UDO 2.17.9, the proposed amendment to the Town of Southern Pines zoning map is reasonable in the public interest and consistent with the criteria set forth in the Town of Southern Pines Unified Development Ordinance 2.117.9.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, but by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then you'll mention number 14 in this.
Okay, got you. And therefore, I move to approve Z-02-26 with the modified conditions on condition 14.
14.
Submitted by the applicant and is listed in the staff report for the general business conditional zoning district.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thanks.
Okay, it is 9:13. It's getting late, so my eyes are failing me. We're going to be back at 9:20 on the dot with or without the council.
Let's talk about some trees.
9:20 on the dot.
All right. Got everybody?
Back into session. We are on our last public hearing item, the proposed amendments to UDO regarding open space design. We have James Broadwell. I just mispronounced your first name. I guess get us started.
Well, I'm glad to present to you all the last thing of the night from us, the reformed version of the open space and tree protection amendments. And I got to first start out by reminding just what a team effort this has been. We've had the focus group working with us on this ever since the first iteration, right after the comp plan was adopted, then a very, very long waiting period, and then the group came back together past few months to put together what we've got before you tonight. And without their professional input, without the help from MAC and our land use law consultant, this would not have been possible, so can't thank them enough. So if you all do recall at the February business meeting, last time we talked about this, which you all unfortunately could not adopt the previous package because it was not consistent with state legislature. But since then, we've put together this version, which is consistent with it, and it still achieves the same purpose and intent. But as we were going through this, we've come to a policy choice that we want you all, staff and the planning board, to take a look at tonight and weigh in on. That's why there's two versions of this text amendment in your packet tonight. And fundamentally, one version is less restrictive. It has some incentives included, and it's probably going to save a little less natural area and trees. The other version is more restrictive, does not have those incentives, but probably will save more natural areas and trees. I'll get into more of that here in a second. I'm just going to go through about 10 minutes with this presentation, and we've also got the actual red line amendments themselves, both versions. We can go into as much detail as you all would like there as well. For the good of the group, just a quick recap of how we got here. So when the comp plan was first adopted in September of 23, tree protection was one of the highest priorities on that list, and that's why it was in phase one. Over the next roughly year or so, the focus group worked with staff to create the first version of this, brought it to planning board, brought it to the town council, and then just as it was about ready to be adopted, Senate Bill 382, down zoning provision, was adopted as well. And because of that, it was continued for over a year, waiting for possible changes at the legislature. Those did not happen. So earlier this year, staff took a look at this. How can we make this work under the current legislation and that down zoning provision? So then back in February, you all did adopt the Appendix F changes, which, because those were non-regulatory, they went into the appendix. The rest of that file stopped, and then we got to work on this version. And since then, it's gone to planning board, and now it's before you all tonight. So what's in it? The main components, there's no change to the actual open space requirement. Plan developments are still 20%. Most everything else is 10%. Your major subdivisions, site plans of the commercial type, and so forth. What's different is that there are 5 specified types of open space. And any of those 5 can count as your open space, but which ones are prioritized depends on what is existing on that site. And that doesn't conflict with the downzoning provision statute there, because just because we adopt this doesn't make a planted buffer along 15501 non-conforming, because it is type 5 planted buffers. So there's not a conflict there. We also have punitive measures for preemptive clearing, which I'll get to here in a second as well. So the 5 types prioritized. If you have a sensitive natural area on your site, that is obviously the first in the priority list. Wetlands, flood hazard areas, and then specimen trees, which are defined in the UDO. Next is tree protection areas. And we added a little bit more substance to what that means. It was density, minimum width, and maturity requirements. 1 inch diameter per 100 square feet of open space. I've got a quick example just to kind of illustrate what that would look like to administer. Minimum width of 20 feet and wide, and then a minimum of 6 inches in diameter to count. That's just to make sure the tree is mature enough to be viable. And that came from the focus group as well. So just to illustrate what I mean with this one is just take your pretty basic commercial site plan
requires 10%, 1-inch diameter per 100 square feet of open space. Let's say this site's 120,000 square feet, 10%, 12,000 square feet. 12,000 divided by 100, 120 total inches of diameter. So for example, 12 10-inch diameter trees. So I'll zoom in. We start counting that up. You've got 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 11 plus 13. You'll achieve your tree protection area open space type just in that green circle. Note those red X's, 4-inch, 3-inch, 5-inch, doesn't count because they don't have that minimum maturity standard that we've put in there. So that's tree protection area. Next is undisturbed buffers. And this is the same dimensional requirements that we just went through, but the only difference here is that it serves the actual function of a buffer, and it can combine with planted buffers as well. So like those trees you're familiar with along West Morganton Road, those giant gaps right there, we can have partial undisturbed buffer, partial planted buffer for that reason. Let's say you have a site that doesn't have anything on it, or maybe it's already met some of its other requirements with those first 3 types. Then we can use usable open space, your recreational type open space, playgrounds, trails, and so forth. And then our 5th option, our least desired option, but it still counts, planted buffer. Those you're familiar with right off, that's Discount Tire and Chick-fil-A, for example. And this doesn't conflict with statute, mainly that 3rd bullet point, because should you all choose to adopt this, by adopting it, you're not creating a nonconformity on those sites that are meeting their open space by a planted buffer, part of it by usable open space and so forth. We put in a couple other things in the proposed section 491. One to keep us further out of trouble with the downzoning provision, but also a couple other legal precedents. We wouldn't want a site to come in, say it has a bunch of specimen trees that are smack in the middle of it, and all of a sudden that just totally rendered that site undevelopable. So that's why that section reads that the planning director shall modify if one of those 4 things happens. Undevelopable, inaccessible, otherwise allowable density is reduced or precludes meeting a different standard. And just to illustrate that as well, I've got another basic commercial site plan. Let's just say these trees in the middle right here, I don't think they actually would meet the diameter requirement, but say those are specimen trees located smack in the middle of this site. And I could see parking, I could even see getting, did not mean to hit that. Parking standard, especially if you're going to park a restaurant at 1 to 100 square feet, that's going to be hard. You could probably make an argument that the site is pretty well undevelopable for most general business type uses there, but certainly at least a parking standard that you would need. So should the applicant demonstrate that, then planning department would have to modify from our type 1, our most desired open space type, to luckily, we have a highway corridor overlay buffer that has existing trees in it as well. Okay, fine. Type 3, undisturbed buffer is what we'll use for your open space. Questions on that before I keep going? Next thing I'll mention is there's a section there about preemptive or unauthorized clearing. That is pretty much the exact same that was from the original version of this from back in 2024. Some slight modifications, but those are just some measures that staff can take should it be demonstrated that clearing occurred that was directly related to an application. There are certainly scenarios where that'd be really hard to prove, but there are certain scenarios where that wouldn't be. And the town has the option of any of those 3 as far as which to levy against an application that that was proven for. Administrative delay of 3 years, replanting according to those standards right there, or doubling the size of your buffers. And the total of the town's discretion as to which one of those we would take.
Is there a time, for example, if a developer is pursuing an apartment complex and takes down a bunch of trees, and you don't want to do the most punitive, which would be stop for 3 years, do they stop development while they replant, or is there a timeline that's specific to that situation?
A lot of it would depend on when it happened. I could think of a scenario where
developer acquires the land, application submitted, trees are axed, and that comes before it even comes to you all. Maybe it comes during the site plan review process, maybe it comes during construction and they axe it after the approval. It would depend on the timing. If it came before you all came to council, obviously that's something that would probably be all over the staff report with our recommendation according to that. As far as if it came to during site plan review, then that would be at the discretion of staff during that time. And then if it came after, then we'd be looking at more of a, kind of like the way we do as far as looking at fines or a stop work order and an enforcement action type sense.
Have we, as the town, ever initiated any of these actions in recent memory? If anyone can answer, we probably would have heard of it, I'm sure, right?
The buffer on Morganton actually was, they had to enhance the planting there because they cut it down illegally.
By the apartments there?
Yep.
Okay, that's right.
There's more planting there than there would have been otherwise because they were supposed to retain those trees.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any more on this one before I keep going? So that takes me to the policy choice. As we're going through this with the focus group and then we got the planning board, we got a couple options. As it was originally written was the one on the left there. The 50% option, which just means if existing on site, 50% of your open space shall comprise types 1, 2, or 3, your preservation types. The tree protection areas, undisturbed buffers, and so forth. And then if you met that, you necessarily have to meet the rest of your open space with those preservation types if you have them. You can use a planted buffer, you can use a playground, and so forth. And the question was asked, well, if you've got it, why not use it? If I have a totally mature forested site and there's nothing as far as UDO requirements and so forth that would prevent from making all of your open space those preservation types, then why not require it? And this is more of a policy choice because the 50% option, it's more flexible. It has some incentives baked into it, which I'll get to what those are in a second. It's a little easier to administer, and it's a little more forgiving for the developers to make the site work. But you're not going to save as many trees, more than likely. The other option, it's a lot more restrictive. It's a little bit harder to administer. The incentives are pointless because there's nothing to incentivize, but you're probably going to save a lot more natural areas and trees. And so that's where the planning board landed, was debating these two, and the planning board ultimately recommended going with the 100% option.
I have a question about the 100%. If you go with the 100%, why even have 4 or 5?
If you don't have anything on site at all, then you
Those
can
are
use
lower
4 or
priorities,
5,
okay.
right? Mhm.
Tell me what you ask again?
If you use the 100% and it has to be 1, 2, or 3, why even have a 4 or 5? But James said because if you don't have, those things to preserve, then you can use the 4 or 5.
Okay.
I still have, I guess, a concern that if you go with the 100%, you're almost discouraging people from doing, trails or parks. I mean, you're definitely taking away from 4 and 5.
You're going to show us.
Trade-off for sure, 'cause especially with planned developments, you typically do see more of that usable open space and things integrated into it.
Did you have examples? Like to explain the incentives?
You mean as far as how the breakdown would look?
Or just like, here's an example of what,
Yeah, I think
here's a
you-
project, here's what the 50% would allow, here's what the 100% would allow. Just so we could like kind of visualize.
I had a better, 'cause I don't on this one.
Yeah, just do that one. This incentives.
Okay.
I think you mean like, say I have a 1,000,000 square foot site, what would that breakdown look like? Right. If I come with a 1,000,000 square foot site and it's a planned development, I'm required 200,000 square feet of open space. Under the 50% option, 100,000 square feet of that open space has to be preservation of trees and natural areas. The other 100,000 square feet could be trails, playgrounds, greenways, planted buffers, all that could count. Under the 100% option, all 200,000 square feet of that has to be types 1, 2, and 3. And if there are any buffers that don't happen to overlap with that have to be planted, or if the developer wants to include a trail or a playground or something, then that is in excess of it.
But we don't have any incentive for them to do that at that point.
We do not know. And the incentives here were intended to mitigate this a little bit. This is under the 50% option. You're required to keep 50% of your open spaces preservation types, but if you elect to make it 100, then you get these things. And depending on the type of development, this might be very advantageous or it might be not advantageous at all.
I will make sure that we have more option or more time to speak. I know we have, it's public comment. We have dwindling public here, but I'll make sure I have time for that too. Because updating language, like an amendment to our UDO, affects everywhere in town, I will follow whatever the council wants to do, but it would be my preference to start our hearing now and then to vote on it at the work session so that there is time to look through the variation, but also it ends up in the paper and we hear how the public feels about it. I mean, it's a big deal because it's not one project and we know what's going to go in and they have conditions. It's for everywhere.
And I agree with you, except that I think it should be the next full session, the next council meeting, because at work session, people can't do, there's no public speaking.
Okay.
So I think we should, I agree to continue it for a month and count on Anna to make everybody in town educated about it and
So it's not June 9th.
watch our phones ring.
Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and make sure that we do have time for public hearing. And as many questions as we have for staff. And if there's specific things you guys would like staff to bring back at the June meeting, we can try to get those requested now. Sound good? Okay.
I think it's huge, yeah.
Council, do you have questions? Okay.
Yeah, we can wait, yeah.
You just need a motion to continue.
Unless you have other questions you want answered or suggestions now, then I think I can, okay, yes.
If possible, and I don't want staff to spend, if this is like an ask that's like, I'll do it, but it's gonna take a lot of time. If it's not too hard, if you just have like a project where you can like show that, like, here's a site plan, and it's sort of leaned to the 50% versus, hey, here's a site plan, and here's sort of what the 100% look like. Just, I don't know, it'll help me see it better.
Right.
But if that's like an impossible ask, don't do it, but.
It's literally our job.
Okay.
Appreciate all the work that you all and the group of citizens have put into this. This is a,
It's major.
yeah, it's a fabulously written amendment. And I think that you've taken so many different considerations into thought, and I appreciate that.
I had a quick question. I think you mentioned at one point, and I'm sorry, I wasn't going to stop you. That's why I wrote my little question down. I think you said something about there are times when a developer may clear everything out, and sometimes it's hard to determine whether or not it was necessary or not necessary. Did I hear you say that? Or?
We were talking
Maybe I
about it as far as like the punitive measures of preemptively clearing a site. I could definitely see scenarios where that could be very hard to prove, that clearing was associated with this application. Like say, previous landowner was the one that does the clearing and then they sell it. Much harder to draw that line, whereas if you apply for something a week later, then it gets cleared. What was that for? Probably to affect the array of your open space. Yes, ma'am.
James, just correct me if I'm wrong, though. Everybody that buys a piece of property in Southern Pines is buying it with the understanding of how it's currently zoned. Is that correct?
I would hope so. But
I mean, that's a pretty, obvious point, but
Right.
sometimes I think but I think some people veer off and go, hey, this, let's put the Taj Mahal right here, let's put a palace here, but yet it's sitting in the middle of Weymouth Woods. That's a drastic example that we can't use for Councilman Pate, but What I'm saying is, as we move forward and we look to, as now we get a whole month, thanks to the mayor and Ms. Peterson, we're going to look through each and every one of these things. But the initial going in is everyone should understand, like, when I bought my house, I'm still paying for it, but when we got it, the idea is it's going to be a house. I can't put a parking garage in there. And so when people come to us with that, and what I'm driving at is, when we look at 1, 2, and 3, we're offering incentives. We're offering incentives, or we're not offering incentives, but we are all going in with the notion that everyone knows what they're purchasing before they actually buy the piece of land. So if somebody then goes and cuts down the land before it gets to council, is there recourse then? Have we thought about that? And I don't think that's something that's really going to keep you up at night, but certainly.
As it's written, if
You know what I
one,
mean?
if one buys the land to develop a Hardee's and they go clear cut it and then apply for a commercial site plan for it, as it's written, then yes, the punitive measures would still apply.
Yeah, and then the other piece to me that fights, and I'll be quick, ma'am, is, at what point do we have the ability to tell somebody what they can do or not do with a piece of property that they've purchased? And I wrestle with that all the time, and I'll be honest with you, I'm hugely in favor of something like this to preserve all of our trees and our nature. I mean, that's why we all, migrated here. But so I just think about those two things as I'll be competing those two ideas in my mind. And this is really great work, and I appreciate it. I'm just grateful that I came up with the idea to push this off a month.
If I may to
And
your
we all
question.
appreciate you for doing it, yeah.
If I may to your question, we had an inquiry 2 days ago that I think would illustrate it pretty well. I'll ask you in a second. The corner of 15501 in West Morganton, there is a parcel zoned office services, bunch of mature trees, right? And the question is, hey, if we put in a business right here, thank you. If we put in a business right here, can we clear cut this to get better visibility, was basically the gist of it. As the code is today, you can clear that out and you can put in a planted buffer instead. The open space percentage is the same. It's still going to be 10%. That's a requirement as it is right now. All this is saying that instead of having the option to cut all those mature trees down and replant it, if they're there and they're not precluding your ability to develop that parcel, you keep them. I think he's pulling up what I'm talking about right now.
You made some really specific language in this, and I think that's the real plus. There's no ambivalence there. It's clear. So thank you.
The other thing that I would love to see in June is this issue placed high on the calendar. So we don't deal with it at 10 o'clock at night in the public. If they know it's happening, then we go ahead and make it one of the first things after the consent agenda. I don't know if that rattles anybody's cage, but I'd love if Anna fires the warning shot that it's coming, I'd love for people to not come at 6 o'clock and sit here until 10.
Yes, sir. So right now, this corner has the highway corridor overlay, 40 foot in, and there's nothing protecting that as a by right use from being cut down and replanted for your highway overlay buffer. It still required 10% open space as it is. What that amendment would change was that instead of having that option, you have to keep that. Because there's nothing about keeping those trees that makes the site undevelopable, prevents parking, et cetera, kind of like it's written in there.
I'm going to show you the street view of that property real quick.
Being that it is a public hearing, and we have so many people in the public, this will be continued, and there will be opportunity for public to speak at the June meeting. But if there's anyone here who would like to comment, this is the opportunity.
As the only person, should I stand up?
Please come to the microphone and introduce yourself.
My name is Ray Owen, a longtime resident of Southern Pines. Do I have to state where I live, or what should I do?
It's optional.
Oh, okay. I live in town. So yes, as a member of the panel that worked with the planning staff, it was an honor to work with the staff, and I am so proud of all of them. We are so lucky to have them. And then just a lot of thought went into it. The panel was very diverse. There were people with development interest on the panel. Everyone had expertise in the field. My background, I was in the stewardship committee for the Cultural Landscape Foundation in Washington, D.C., working with historic landscapes all over the country with the National Park Service, and then others that were expert on plant materials and just site development. And so we really worked well together and formed a consensus. And so what you see with the 50% option was what we originally presented. And then when the planning board got it, the 100% option, I believe what BJ had showed and James was options that would show how you could end up with the 50% option, but it would really end up with some very undesirable landscapes. So I would recommend to James to kind of show examples of what the 50% would look like as you're asking versus the 100%. And then, but the 100% was really what we wanted. I didn't know what these meetings were like. I hadn't been to a meeting like this in a while, so I thought maybe there'd be 100 developers in here, rattling their fist and not letting us get away with anything, after what happened on Morganton Road. So I didn't know. But, so I would personally like to see more preservation, because as a town named for its forests, working with long-range planning, with the planning that we had done in the past, it was the overarching thing people in the town want. And we all know that as a town named for its forest, it's so very important. And Pinelandia that we lived in, it's more than just Longleaf Pines with Miami Beach built under it. It's a collective. And the patchwork of preservation that we can do, it's on us. We're the generation to save this if we can. So anything you can do, obviously property rights are very important, but it's a collective. I'm the third generation of my family here, and we've invested as a block of people generationally, and there's others like me, and it matters to us. So thank you very much, and look forward to being at the next meeting.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, unless there is anyone else from the public,
Do we need a motion to continue?
I think I can just continue it. Yeah.
Max reaching for.
Do you want to keep the public hearing open too?
I would like to. I would like to provide opportunity for public to speak.
Yeah. So I think what you want to do is first continue the public hearing and then set this for continuing that public hearing at your at your first June meeting, right?
June
June
9th. Okay,
June 9th?
so
9th.
But that's not gonna.
That's the work session. We want to go this, we want to go.
9th is the meeting.
9th is your business meeting.
All right, so I'm going to continue the public hearing and set the date of June 9th to continue the hearing.
Do the public hearing, yes.
Okay. What he said. All right. Unless there's anything else for the good of the public or council, I will look for a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a wonderful night.